All right. What's up, everybody? How you doing out there? Welcome back to the show. This is last week's fights. My name is Thinker St. James, and tonight we are going over each and every fight from UFC Fight Night, Evloev versus Murphy, taking a look and giving our predictions for the upcoming UFC Fight Night, Adesanya versus Pyfer. To do all of that with me, the man, the myth, the legend, you know him and you love him, Mr. Chase Parton. How are you, brother?
I am all right. Absolutely doing great. It is a Monday. We had fights on Saturday, so I'm excited to talk about them. Of course, there's a few other things that we got to touch on, and yeah, this is interesting. I just really can't wait to talk about this one. Of course.
Of course, indeed, we will be talking about this. We will be talking about the upcoming week. We're talking a little bit now about some of the stuff that we watched before. For me, not all that much to go over as far as other promotions this week, but I did have one. I had Mexico MMA 7 that I watched, and I know that you wanted to talk about one championship, so we can go over those in a moment here. But the reason that I did not do more live streams this week is because the latest episode of Yama is out. So if you have not seen the most recent episode, give it a watch, give it a like if you enjoy it, leave a comment. And of course, the other big news, I think it might be the first time that I'm saying it on this show, if not this week, then last week. But either way, yamashow.com for all of your Yama merch needs, including merchandise from this very show. So if you are a fan of last week's fights, make sure you go over to yamashow.com, get yourself some last week's fights merchandise.
No, absolutely. If you guys are late to finding out, Thinker has a merch line and it's sick. I mean, honestly, excuse me, he put out a whole video. He did a whole live stream breaking down each and every item on the shop, and they all look very, very crispy. I mean, I know everybody out there who's watching, Jeremy Hall especially, shout out you for being here early, but that polo, I know it's going to look sick on you guys. I just know.
Anything that has the Yam Rana on it embroidered, I keep the beanie over here for display purposes. Anything with the embroidery looks amazing. The collared shirt is going over very well. A couple purchases of that already, so get yourself some of that. But of course, get yourself some last week's fights merch over there too, people. I mean, show some love to this show. We do this every week. We've been doing it for quite a long time. It is definitely worth repping, I would say.
No, absolutely. And I guess the only other thing that I would say in announcement purposes, the thing that we have to talk about as well is tomorrow, guys. Make sure you guys get your viewings of Bloodsport in. I don't know if you guys are late to the party, but for everybody out there knowing that we have been talking about this for a long time now, it's been more than 2 months, just FYI.
Quite a lead up on this one.
Bloodsport is done. We are going to review it tomorrow live at 9 p.m., as I believe was what we agreed on. So there's your heads up. Get the movie done. It honestly is quick watch. So there's your tidbit for tomorrow. So get ready.
Absolutely. Can't wait to review Bloodsport indeed. So those are all of the necessary pieces of information. So without further ado, let's talk a little bit about some of these promotions that we watched that are not the UFC. The one that I wanted to mention was Mexico MMA 7. That was last night, last night, I believe, right?
Last
No,
night.
2 nights ago. Yeah, 2 nights ago. Sorry.
Or
Yeah,
no,
it
you
was.
reviewed it last night.
Yeah, well, it was on after UFC because UFC was in the earlier card. It was an
Gotcha.
early start time, so it was Saturday night, late night, local time. And yeah, the only real thing that was of note on that card, aside from the fact that it reminded me a lot of Real Cage Fighting, where I did commentary for because it was in an outdoor venue. It was like basically by a sports bar. I was like, this is real MMA of the people out here, which I appreciate. But the other piece of information that I thought was kind of interesting was that there was a trans fighter on the card who was a biological male, identified as a woman, and fought fought a man, fought in men's MMA and ended up winning the fight. So, not really too much to say about that necessarily, but interesting, I suppose. And, shout out to him. I mean, living authentically, but still competing in MMA. And I guess the only other thing that I do have to say about it that I think is kind of a little bit of a feather in that person's cap is if the conversation around trans athletes is, you should not be competing in the opposite gender's sports, then this is how you do it. I think that this lady has done it exactly correctly. She goes out there, competes as her birth sex, as a man, and wins her fight. So congratulations to her.
No, absolutely. not gonna get too political on the page, but I will say, you know, a feat is a feat, I guess, in of itself. You know, this is mixed martial arts, and different things come to the sport as well. You know, is what I'll say. So
True. Yeah. So I actually, and also, yes, Jeremy Hall reminded me of one other thing. There was a referee in that promotion who was very, very voluptuous, and I that's worth a mention. This referee, it was eye catching. It was eye catching while you're watching this referee, be the third person in the cage, and also not do her job as a referee. So it was like, you kind of have to just take it with the territory. But at least if you're going to, it's like we watch every week poor refereeing happen. So if you're going to at least be, one of the normal refereeing criteria set there, a person who's going to do the job that same caliber, at least it's something nice to look at in addition to that.
well, I actually appreciate everybody here right now, and we're going to go ahead and give shout outs. But first, I know Jeremy Hall was here first, so I want to give him a shout out for swaying the conversation to something even better because the voluptuous chest definitely is something that I missed, and I'm upset about this one.
Other side.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, the backside. Oh, okay. Jesus, my bad. Okay, forgot we were in South America. You know,
True.
either way. But shout out to the entire chat, not just Jeremy, Sanjay, of course, Bleeding Edge, Meat Rocket. Who did I miss? Michael. Fuck. One more.
Silent assassin.
Yeah, he wasn't so silent up front. So it's yeah, everybody, did I miss you? I'm sorry. But either way, we'll get to you. This was great. You know, obviously great event, great stream for Thinker. I was there for a little bit. I passed out, you know, I was watching it and then drool, and, you know, it's just the normal reaction to me watching a Thinker stream. You know, not that he puts me to sleep, but I'm always going to sleep when he's on, you know. It's just
We're
how it
on
is.
late. It's true.
Yeah. So shout out to him for streaming this event. It sounds really fun. Love to hear it.
Yeah, it was interesting. Just kind of an interesting note in the sport. I believe that that's the first time that I have ever seen a trans athlete perform in MMA, but I do know that it has happened before. I appreciate that. If the conversation is as I laid it out, that she was like, "All right, I'm still competing," so did her thing and won the fight. So good job to that. That's really all I had to say about that event specifically. So did you want to talk about one championship?
There's just one particular thing about one that was it's again, we go back to these early start times where the card actually starts and we don't get to watch it until a couple hours later. This one was nuts, dude. They started the card at like 6:30. You know, we didn't get to watch till 9:30. You know, I thought it was starting late. You know, I figured we would miss one or two. No, there's an entire pay-per-view in the morning before the Friday morning fights. So
Really?
basically, it was called the Friday Super Fan Fights or whatever it was. It ended with a
Huh.
title fight. It ended with a crazy title fight that I didn't get to see. I thought it was going to be later on that night, but no, it was at 6:30 in the morning for me. And then after that, after like some crazy main card pay per view, they just play the Friday fights after, and I'm like, oh my god, what did I just? So I got on, and I was alluding to it before the stream. Like I had a really good one stream. You know, there was a lot of views. Well, yeah, because everybody was looking for the fucking pay-per-view. Like they thought,
True.
like bro, YouTube was playing Nabil and fucking Rambo Lek or whatever the thing was, and it's like they were going crazy for it. So when I hopped in there, I'm like, damn, I got fucking 400 people, and it's been 3 seconds I'm on the stream. What's going on? And then I realized, oh, I missed an entire fucking goaded event. Like,
What I do not understand what their thought process is by doing that. I mean, obviously those names that you mentioned, Nabil and Superlek, these are fighters that people know. Like, why would they not have it in either have it at an accessible time for the US audience or make it part of the regular show or what? Like, it just seems like an odd thing to just kind of shuffle into a different time slot and then just hope that people are interested enough to seek it out.
so for me to have watched that at 6:30 or 7:30, whenever it started, I would have had to pay a monthly subscription of $10 to like the one exclusive, you know, page or whatever you want, a
Sure.
streaming service kind of deal. And it looks like they have more of these set up in the future. But again, I didn't know this was a possibility. I came into it, I was like, okay, I'll miss one or two, three fights, whatever. This is normal to me now. 2026 one. No, I just missed a whole title fight. I just missed a whole main card. I missed everything that sounded like it was the greatest event ever. And obviously that's not even the case. But what if it was? You know, what if it was, guys? Like I didn't really it's not like I missed much because I didn't even know it was going on. I didn't even expect to have anything in the morning like that, you know? So it just being upon me that Nabil lost his title or whatever, I'm like, who shit, like I don't even know what to think anymore. But it was crazy. So that was the one thing that was going on at one, I would say.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes it harder for people to become fans of the product if you're not able to watch a title fight. You know what I mean? Like this is, we already have enough trouble keeping on top of it as not being part of that region in the first place. So it's like, you're putting another barrier to entry in being a hardcore quote unquote one championship fan.
To clarify, there was another title fight at the end, of the Friday morning fights, but it was just like a very packed morning. So this was the super fan fights. If you were the super fan, you would pay the extra $10 a month, I guess. That's just how they're presenting it.
I suppose. I guess it's a good point. It's like we're gonna have to paywall something over here to make it
True.
worth our while. So I guess I don't know. I mean, so I guess the big question then: are you going to become a one championship super fan at some point?
Not in 2026, it appears, but hey, I'm telling you guys, when the channel is at the place that it needs to be, I will have so many different subscriptions to so many different Fight Pass services kind of deal. Not Fight Pass itself. I mean, yes, them, but the other ones included, the regional ones. We can do a lot of different stuff. I'm just very excited for the opportunity to have that possible. So it'll
Same
be
here.
fun in the future, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. That actually reminds me of one other thing, and I don't want to dwell on this too much, but I did want to mention it because it's something that came to my attention very recently. Shout out to City Life Project. This is another creator on the platform here, also in the combat sports space. Was telling me, I talked about Mexico MMA. That night, we were either going to watch that or a Japanese kickboxing promotion. We found out that the J Kickboxing promotion was behind a paywall. It had become pay per view, even though they were airing it on YouTube. Turns out that they had struck up a deal with a service called Unext. I from City Life Project found out a little bit more about this streaming service Unext. Apparently, $20 a month. It's a Japanese streaming service. As an American, you still are able to access it. I don't know if there are hurdles you have to jump through. I didn't get all of the intricate details, but you are able to access this $20 US a month, and you get access to all kinds of combat sports, including the UFC.
Hmm.
So just so you guys are aware, I again, you might have to jump through a couple of hoops to set it up. I have not done all of the research on it, but it includes UFC, PFL, and a bunch of Asian promotions, including Deep, which is the one that I was like, okay. I mean, if Deep is on
That's
there, yeah, that's
that
the
was my
attractive one.
questioning one.
Yes, yes. So yeah, we found out that it is. So I'm thinking about it possibly. I'm not committing to this just yet because another $20 a month, that's a pretty hefty investment right now. But in the future, that might be a good one to do. And also, if you are not satisfied with your Paramount Plus subscription, which a lot of people seem to not be considering all the technical difficulties, Unext might be another option for you. So just keep that in mind, do your research, make your own conclusion.
That is interesting. A lot to be said about some of these networks that you don't even know exist. I
Right.
remember when, I don't know if you guys have heard me before, Pluto TV, free service. They just play a lot of UFC stuff. You can get on there and I know Embedded is free on UFC or on like YouTube or whatever, but like they have just a live UFC channel where you can watch all the press conferences, the weigh-ins, all the YouTube content, and it's just on Pluto TV because they're part owned by Paramount now. But like, whatever you want to say, like just interesting stuff you can find. So this, what was it, You Next or whatever?
Unext, yes, correct.
Nice, like that. Interesting, cool.
Yeah, just another note there. So, all right. Well, with that all being said, we do have this card to talk about here. So, yeah, I mean, do you want to shout out the chat one more time? What's going
I
on,
did.
Steve?
I did. Wow, you really know me good, Lachlan Hydra. Dude? Thinker really wanted you guys to be shouted out. Did you hear that? That was good. I like it.
Of course, I get on. It goes without saying how much I appreciate everybody who is here in the chat. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for hanging out with us on a Monday night. Talk about some fight. Of course, we got to give these people in the chat what they want. Chase, let's talk a little bit about the UFC here.
Well, they want Yama merch, and we're getting them that. It's on the way, guys. But yes, tonight, UFC.
Absolutely. Yamashow.com for all of your Yama merch needs. But so yes, the fight night here. Of course, this is UFC Fight Night of Evloev versus Murphy. What? Yeah.
Actually, what was the link for Jeremy one more time? Sorry.
Oh, it's you next. I believe it's you, the letter U dash next, NEXT.
Okay.
Just Google that. I don't have the actual like link specifically, but if you Google you next, it should come up. Letter
Okay. Yeah.
U dash NEXT.
Thank you. You're welcome, Jeremy. I didn't want him to miss you there, pal.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Chase. Yes.
All right, let's go.
So, all right. So, UFC Fight Night, Evloev versus Murphy. You know the deal here, guys. This took place in the O2 Arena. This was in London, England, the big London show that the UFC likes to trot out every once in a while. In the past, the London show has been amongst what I would consider some of the worst UFC shows that we have had. Not always, but there have been several. It's kind of, London is notorious on Yama for the lack of quality. If you talk to the Vitz King, my live streaming co-host from old, he will always reference the London card that we watched together because it was one of the worst that we had ever seen. So,
I
yeah.
I agree with you right now. I think it's kind of funny. Like after I watched this one, I was thinking back, like, dang, the last one kind of sucked too. Like, what's going on here? You know?
Well, I mean, that kind of tipped the hand because I was going to say, Chase, did you think that this card was amongst that quality or was it a different quality?
Listen, there were some highs, there were a lot of lows, there were some things that you should never even remember, like, but the fact is, we were in London, we had a lot of people representing the UK, and we were at the O2, which I wanted to point out. I did this last time, but I want to specifically point out one more time. The O2, unfortunately, has zero aura. Like, you can't tell it from any other arena that's just normal and bland. Like when you go to that, listen, I think about the new one that was built in California, the Inglewood, the Clippers arena.
Yes. Yeah.
That had, like, you felt like it was like kind of a new arena. All these other ones have no life to them, it feels. I don't know.
I mean, it's funny that you mentioned that because to me, it's almost anti-aura. When they did the external shot of that building, it's small, it's squat, like, so it looks like an arena that got kind of smushed down a little bit. That's the number one that sticks out to me. It almost looks like a flattened circus tent. And then the other thing that sticks out, and to me is just one of the most gaudy and unattractive looking things that I've seen on a building is all of those spires that come out of the top. Do you know what I'm talking about? It looks like there's a crown of thorns on this building, and not in a good way, not in an aura building way. I was like, this is just such an unattractive building. I don't know if it's part of a larger complex that has that, or if that is the building itself. But if you go back to the external shots, the establishing shots on the broadcast, it looks like a flattened circus tent with these very large spikes coming out of the top. And I was like, this just is not it, bro.
Yeah, it's not even the outdoor portions that I mind. I mean, obviously, I didn't pay too much attention to it. I didn't think like, oh my God, look at that arena. When we were going back to the fights in one, when they kept showing that dragon fucking temple kind of deal,
Yes, yes.
it's like you look at that and it's like, it's obviously not where they're fighting, but they're showing cool shit. They just show some fucking arena that I don't even remember. That's one thing. The inside of the arena, it's like, it's just so basic. You can't tell anything different from any other. There's nothing that just stands out from the inside of it. You don't feel like you're in a different place. I feel like when we were in China and Macau, that was a really good one. I feel like the environment like had its own vibe. England we just had fans watching fights. It didn't feel like they were actually locked in. We'll talk about the atmosphere after some fights as well, but like they weren't really fucking locked in. I don't know. It didn't really seem like it to me.
Yeah, very well could be. I maybe it's the building, maybe it's the fact that Melissa Mullins versus Luana Carolina got canceled due to Carolina missing weight by 8 pounds. Maybe they were just there was a general malaise in the atmosphere because of that cancellation.
Can we make a point that she pulled out the tent and got and stripped just to miss by 8 pounds?
I did not know that, but that's fucking funny, dude. That's
Yes.
hilarious.
So what can you say about that? Maybe she was confident. I don't know. Maybe she thought she can get away with it. Maybe she was going to do the tent, pull the tent thing.
She's going to pull the air in tow. I mean, the thing to me was just like, why even show up at that point? I mean, because it's like there's no way that she tried to cut weight if she missed by 8 pounds. There was, I refuse to believe that there was a grueling weight cut process that led up to an 8-pound weight miss. So why even? I mean, I think it's disrespectful to Mullins to even show up at all. Be like, look, your fight's just canceled. Like, don't even, you stop cutting weight. Obviously, we all we saw that how emotional Mullins was about this fight not being able to go on. So I think it would have been a little bit of a little bit more of a one at least ounce of respect to just be like, hey, let's handle this behind the scenes. Like, fight's not going to happen. You don't have to go out there, etc.
Well, the thing about that also, and just because we're talking about it, she made a statement like, I really wanted to fight. I'm still hoping that they can find me an opponent. And I'm thinking like, I hope the UFC don't find her somebody on like fucking 7 hours notice. Please God, like just don't come on. Like just I mean, no, like I know she wants to fight, but like we don't need them to actually find somebody willing to take that fight because we know what caliber somebody who's going to take that fight is going to be on. There's no Dan Ige in that fucking division, guys.
Yeah,
Come on.
right. Exactly. And a Dan Ige has to save a main event. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Come on, Melissa Mullins. No disrespect to her, but a little bit of a apples and oranges on that one.
yeah. But either way, we'll hopefully get to see her soon. Let me say it that way.
Indeed. Indeed. But you know what we did get to see is another women's fight to start this card off. And that was Chanel Dyer versus Ravina Oliveira. So to start off our coverage here, Chase, what did you think of our girl, Chanel Dyer?
Well, first off, she is our girl. I will definitely admit to you guys, I'm a big fan. She has the background. She's very experienced in combat sports. When she came into this fight, though, I mean, obviously she didn't do much in the first round, and I was wondering, what was holding her up? Was she actually worried? So I give her a lot of credit for being a lot more measured and experienced than I think anybody, even me, was expecting from her. Because she let Miss Oliveira here, she let her come out here and look like the worst fighter of all time in the first round. She looked really bad. Like she was just swinging wild. She was just doing stuff, and she looks very good. She's a very attractive woman, but she was she was just looking kind of wild out there in the first round. And shout out to Chanel. She was just letting her do her thing, and we were all just in awe seeing it. Like, holy shit, this is really the pinnacle kind of deal.
I mean, that first round went pretty much according to how I would have expected it to go on the Oliveira side. What I knew about Oliveira coming into this fight are two things. One, just because you see Oliveira as the last name, do not expect any ground game. We talked about this on the podcast. The name is a misnomer almost when it comes to grappling. She does not have that. So and because of that, I knew that on the other side, the stand-up game, not good. I have seen this girl fight before. I made a mental note in my mind. She is not a great fighter. And this is what you get out of that is a lot. It really kind of seemed like they were trying to figure each other out in the first round. So it was a lot of dancing, but Oliveira was being aggressive with her approach to the fight. So it was like, even though there was no real technique or anything actually of substance happening, she certainly was trying to make it seem like there was more going on than there was.
What I will also say is I had a lot of confidence in Chanel before the fight started. When we got to the second round, and a minute in, it was almost right when it happened. I swear to you, I was thinking to myself, maybe she just don't have it, like maybe the style, it's the style. I was thinking of all these other people who are Muay Thai guys, like I said it right when she landed this beautiful head kick to the temple that wobbled this girl. I'm like, Carlos Pratis is like really fluid, like he's there. She's kind of very, I kind of, she has like an Alex Morono type style, like she's very bouncy on her feet kind of deal. And I was like, maybe the style is just hard for mixed martial arts. She's got to, hop over to her opponent, and I don't know. And then she lands this fucking head kick, wobbles this bitch, of course, and then just puts a beating on her, and then gets this finish. And of course, it was absolutely crazy, but I feel totally worthless because it was in that moment I started to doubt her. And that's when she proved me wrong. And even though I was rooting for her, she still was able to prove me wrong. And I think that is just what a special fighter can do. Even when you think that there's nothing left to prove, you have all the stock in her. And then she still proved me wrong somehow. I appreciate her. She did really, really good in this fight.
You nailed it. I mean, that's exactly what you got to do in those moments where it seems like things are going to go one way. When people are zigging, you zag, and that's exactly what she did in that second round. The straight right plus the high kick that lands and wobbles Oliveira. It's like this is starting to look good, and then she, blast the knees up the middle. I was like, this is especially out of an accredited Muay Thai practitioner. I mean, this is we all talk about the image that they showed on the Contender Series of her with all of her belts and the bells and the whistles and the medals and the accolades and all of this. She lived up to that, thankfully, raining down some shots from the top. The one thing I did want to mention with the finish was brought to my attention by CTE, who is not in the chat right now, by the way. Where is that guy? But either way, what he had said was that Oliveira, like, as she was on the ground, like, looked up to the referee for some reason, like she was trying to communicate with the referee. I watched it back with that in mind. There did not seem to be anything out of whack that would have been like the referee needed to step in or stop anything or change anything as to what was happening that I saw anyway. So I acknowledge that she did do that, but there really was no reason for it. And then after that was when she ended up getting finished. So yeah, I don't know if she was trying to signal for something or if it was just that she was out of it, but whatever the case may be, Chanel Dyer gets the job done.
It was probably your casual, I'm good, don't stop it, you know? So that's
Could
probably
have
what I would
been.
say. And I don't recall what you're specifically talking about. I don't remember her actually doing that. But if I would guess, it was ref, don't stop it. And you're getting your head beat in, girl. So,
You make a good point because Chase, as you know, the best way to defend from an onslaught is to tell the referee to not stop the fight. You don't defend from the actual shots. You try to you triage
and
basically.
and also the second best method is you give them a thumbs up. That's second, you know,
You got to
obvious.
love the thumbs up right as the shot is just coming straight at the face.
Yeah. Hmm.
But anyway, I mean, really, there's not too much else to talk about. That first round again was a little bit of a dance match, but this one turned out to be a great, solid knockout win for Chanel Dyer.
Yes, and absolutely. I've been telling everybody, and I'm going to bring it up on the show. Think I hope you don't hate me for it, but the UFC Tops collection is coming, and this is the first moment I realized I had to make a Google document of cards with debut patches that I need to find. Chanel Dyer. Nobody's even going to want it. You know, they have no idea what they have. This right here. It's gonna have her kicking this bitch in the head on it, you know,
No,
like.
I'm glad that you mentioned that, Chase. Yeah, I don't know how many people realize that you're interested in this, but yeah, Chase is starting to get interested in the UFC Tops collection, the collectible cards collecting deal. Community that a little bit foreign to me, but hopefully Chase will be able to catch me up on it. Either way, if it is something that you guys out there are interested in, keep an eye on Chase's channel because he might be doing some card breaking stuff over there, and this is exactly why you're going to have a leg up in this community, Chase, because you're an actual fan. So like what you just said, that gives you the competitive advantage. Chanel Dyer, a rookie card, so to speak, that's going to be you.
Exactly. I'm glad you see the vision already. But yes, so absolutely Chanel Dyer. She is on the list. We have got to find the debut patch. If you are out there, when the card packs drop with that patch in it, you find me and we will lock in. So
That's right. Make sure that you are sending both good vibes and those packs over to Ohio.
yeah.
Good deal. Anything else on this fight?
No, shout out to Chanel, man. Very good performance. I want to also just actually last thing. She is 7-1. Her only loss is to somebody who popped 4 steroids. So
I'm glad you mentioned that on the last episode when we were doing our predictions too, because yeah, that's an important note. Her loss has an asterisk next to it, not on from her, like from her opponent. So
yes.
definitely someone to keep an eye out for. And yeah, I mean, really, the only other note that I have is Ravina Oliveira. Like, just you got to know that if you see that name again, guys, like she's basically a tee up fight. Really, I've never seen anything out of her that has looked better than in this fight. And that should tell you all you need to know.
No, absolutely. She just put on the Juliana Miller performance, basically. So
I mean, at least Juliana Miller made it to the horn.
true. I guess you're not wrong there. My bad,
Yeah.
Juliana.
I
Sorry.
would say I give Juliana Miller a little bit more credit than this. I put her more in like the Zelezniakova camp. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so Miss Oliveira, PFL's finest. We'll see you soon.
Yeah. Same with her. She can go join Reese McKee over there in
There we go.
PFL. We
And
found out.
Nathan Fletcher at Nathan Fletcher's in Cage Warriors, but you know, off somewhere else in a distant land that we don't even know about or even hear about on roster tracker. So shout out to you. We'll catch you on another side.
That's true, indeed. All right, well, let's keep the train moving here up to this next very frustrating fight. I would say this was a Shamrock versus Abdul Karem Al Sawadi. Now, the one thing that I have to say off rip is that if there's any reason, which should be the only reason, but if there's any reason to feel a little bit of sympathy for Shamrock, all this guy wanted was for Al Sawadi to shake his damn hand, brother. Why would Al Sawadi not give this man the handshake he so desperately wanted?
You know, it's kind of funny because I don't know if you watched any of the antics in the weigh-in show or anything, or
I
the
did not
weigh-in.
know.
He walked up and he did the handshake and then pushed him. This was a ceremonial weigh-ins kind of
Ah,
deal. And what's actually kind of funny is Sawadi kind of he got a little mad about it. It seemed there was a little altercation. Obviously, nothing
Okay.
actually happened. It was just hold me back, bro, kind of shit. But I was thinking to myself, like, Shamrock, that's a bold move. One, because this dude looked like you might have actually pissed him off. It's during Ramadan, dude. You really just disrespected everything he's ever worked for in his life. He's going to make sure you pay. And you know how I know? Because if you go back to the other show, he was repping USA. He came in repping Palestine. He had a lot on his back here, guys. He was going to put Shamrock down for the disrespect that he did on a whole nation. Listen, and then a brutal 30-27 decision that was boring as hell. But, you get the point what I'm saying. Shamrock really poked the bull and had no fucking game to back it up. Like, I
I
can't believe that.
I'm glad you put that into context too, because yeah, I mean, I was curious as to why he, I mean, look, what I said about it is that it's not his job to be like after the fight. I would say it's probably better to be a sportsman about it, but like it's still not his job to do that if he so chooses not to. Like whatever, fuck you. I mean, like it's his right to do so. You don't go and swing on him after the final horn like this guy did, or push him and then force his hand, so to speak.
He
But
booped
either
him.
way, yeah, he kind of booped him, and then he got a swing back that thankfully did not connect because that could have been bad for Al Sawadi. He might have gotten sanctioned for that, but
I don't think he would have. We saw fucking Veritenikov shove Austin Vanderford in the back. We saw, Ankalaev and Johnny Walker shove security guards out the way to try to fight each other after the fight is already called off. There's been a lot of different interesting situations, but I'm not going to sit here and say that Sawadi would have been reprimanded. If Shamrock walked over and booped me on the face, brother, get the fuck out of here.
for
Like,
sure,
come
yeah.
on.
No, fair enough. Either way, I just wouldn't want Al Sawadi to have any kind of problems after a decent win over a dude who was sitting here looking like a mannequin. One of those animated mannequins is what I was thinking. This guy looked like most of this fight. The only thing that Shamrock had going for him was kicks. We had some decent kicks, and then a couple of single shots. No intensity ever in this fight. And I felt really bad for his corner. This is one of several times on this card where I felt terrible for the corner because Rock's corner was doing everything right. They were really saying the right things to try to light a fire under him. And he was just in one ear out the other, not listening whatsoever. You have to attack. It's not the ultimate defending championship. I was like, brother, you should be in the fight. You
Yeah.
should be the one in there.
Yeah, no, this was absolutely crazy because you go into this and you figure there's got to be some favorable matchmaking happening for Shamrock in England. You got to give him an opponent that he can beat, and maybe the tools are there, but even all the belief in the world and everybody backing him, Shamrock really just folded. I mean, 0-2 in the UFC, and he had the nerve to talk about Patchy Mix. I mean, mate, Patchy Mix at least has accomplished shit in a different organization up until this point. Shamrock, you're 12-3. Patchy Mix is got like 20 something wins or something. So, and he's accomplished gold in other promotions. That didn't happen here, but you unfortunately also went 0-2 in the UFC and never, he at least got a ranked opponent, so whatever you got to say.
No, yeah. I mean, this is watching this guy fight was just a very frustrating endeavor. And then seeing Al Sawadi on the other side, who really was doing the right things. I mean, it's hard to say that this guy, based on this fight specifically, is going to be the next up or anything like that. But Al Sawadi was faster, he was stronger, and he was more active throughout this entire fight. This was an easy dub when that's the case.
I think it's actually really funny because Jesse, you make a great point. Shamrock's issue is he talks better than he fights. It's
Yeah.
not that he's necessarily a great talker. I mean, yes, he is the talk the talk, but not walk the walk. Epitome kind of deal. But like Shamrock is one of these dudes that like I like the antics from him. Like when I watched him shove him at the weigh-ins or whatever, I was like, man, I kind of dig it. But then he loses the fight, and it's like, bro, you fucking suck. Like, what are you trying to act like this for? Because you're in situations that people are gonna separate you. I can walk over and boop him at the end of the fight because security is gonna break us up. But when you're actually in the fight with bro, you have nothing to give for him. You want to smile, you want to fucking fist bump, you want to high five, Shamrock. Like, God damn.
Well, yeah,
It
for
actually,
that.
what I was going to say is,
Yeah.
him and Crazy Kev having a back and forth on Twitter is actually adding up even more now. Like these dudes are kind of just the same fucking thing. But
Yo,
either way.
for real, definitely, and that actually might be a competitive fight, sadly. But yeah, no. What I wanted to say too is that yeah, Shamrock, as far as the glove touching goes, finally he goes for the touch. No, after the second round, he goes for another touch. No, flicks him off after that one. After the fight is over, goes for it again. No, flicks Sawadi in the head. Al Sawadi swings back. Finally, after the announcement, Al Sawadi's like, "Fine, dude, Jesus fucking Christ, I'll shake your goddamn hand," and he gives him the shake. Fine. It's like, bro, why are you hanging on to this? Why were you not putting any effort into the? It's like all he cared about was the handshake, as opposed to I don't know, winning the fight, perhaps.
I love when, listen, and I'm not one to say anything, but when people don't have that competitive of a matchup and then they just want to hug and shit at the end of every round and then high five at the end of the fight. It's like, have bro, be mad at yourself a little bit. Like, bro, you were supposed to come out here and beat this person. Fuck the handshake, bro. Go back in the gym. Like, damn, like work better, especially after a performance like this. Like, and it's hard to be it's hard to be hard on Shamrock, I would say. I don't even know what that means. Listen, this dude just makes me fucking, I don't know. This guy's just
No,
not
yeah,
good.
yeah. I mean, he had the nerve to come into this fight talking about how he wasn't anticipating the wrestling of his last opponent. That was the big decision maker in his mind, or at least what he was talking about. Now you have an opponent who was not wrestling in the slightest. I mean, Al Sawadi came out here to swing. If that's supposed to be your strong suit, you certainly didn't prove it here. Like, I don't see where the benefit of this guy in the organization is based on what we are seeing out of him. He makes it very easy not to like him, basically. And Al Sawadi on the other side having a really nice performance. I mean, this guy Shamrock can get the fuck out of here, as far as I'm concerned. I'm not seeing anything that leads me to believe he should stay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what would Dana White benefit from keeping him around? I mean, maybe he's bringing a lot of viewership. I mean, obviously the Scousers, they do have like 7 of them that exist now when
That's
only
what I was going to
one
say.
existed before, but
Yeah, we
uh
don't. How many do we need at this point? Really, I mean, if you're trying to build a fan base off of that, you got plenty. You don't need
well,
another, a guy like this. Well, how are you going to even build a fan base off of this?
it's quite funny, I was just speaking about it just a little bit ago in the Discord. I was saying like why don't we have any Scots? We got Chris Duncan. Where are the prospects from Scotland? No, we got 7 Scousers now already in the organization that have barely done anything to be here. So it's just weird. I don't know, crazy.
Well, isn't Louis Sutherland Scottish by way of England?
Yeah, something like
So there
that.
you go. That should tell you everything you need to know. We need more Scots.
There you go.
All right. Well, shout out to Al Sawadi. This was a fine win. He did everything right in this fight based on what he was getting back from his opponent. So I can't be mad at that. I hopefully there's better for him coming around the corner, and Shamrock can, piss on off to somewhere else.
Okay, hear me out though. And this was a meme on Twitter, yes, but I genuinely think Shamrock would lose the matchup. So people are saying Anshul Jabli versus Shamrock next. And I think Anshul might actually win that one, guys.
Anshul Dubli is not the most. I mean, like we know Anshul Dubli off of his lack of successes. But if
Hmm.
you go back to the Mike Breeden fight with Anshul Dubli,
True.
he's actually a very technically proficient fighter. He just had he basically got barked down in that fight, literally.
Yes.
But as far as like his actual technical prowess goes, like I would not be mad at that fight. I would like to see that fight actually.
I think I would like to see that one too. And again, I think Anshul Jabli would win that one.
Well, then book it, Dana. We'll see what happens there. But anything else about Shem versus Al Sawadi here?
No, there really wasn't even anything to mention in the first place, other than Shamrock just not nowhere was gonna ever be him.
Yeah, for sure. I guess the only other thing I'll mention is shout out to Abdul Karem Al Sawadi, the pride of Palestine, as he is called, doing it for Palestine.
We need to give more shout outs to the chat because they're going crazy right
Oh,
now.
of
So,
course.
hey, City Life Project, the aforementioned.
I was
Appreciate
just
you
gonna
for
say
stopping
that.
by.
Yeah, thank you very much for stopping by City Life Project. I saw all of your comments earlier, and we referenced you talking about you next on the podcast earlier this evening. So thank you for being here, brother.
Absolutely. And if we missed anybody else, Hydra, once again, I appreciate you. Sanjay, Jesse,
Jesse.
fucking god damn it, Jeremy, Bleeding Edge, CTE, you're out there. Michael, you're out there. Appreciate you guys. If I missed
And
anybody, I tried.
nah, you did a great job with it. Thank you, Chase. All
Correct.
right, moving on to the next fight here. Speaking of aforementioned, yes, Louis Sutherland fought Brando Perichik over here. Of course, one thing I needed to mention off rip, you can see a little bit of it in this picture here on screen, but Louis Sutherland finally got his stomach tattoo finished. It looks very cool. It actually, we were speculating on what it was before. It turns out it is a Shogun samurai helmet. Very cool looking. However, it is also a big target for kicks, knees, and punches.
It is a very interesting spot to put a face image kind of deal. Like it is a mask kind of deal, but why did he put it on his stomach? I don't know. You know, it just is an interesting spot for it, you know, especially with how large his body, his
Well, that's
abdomen is, you
yeah,
know.
that's what I was going to say is that your eyes are naturally drawn to the midsection anyway because there's so much of it. So why not adorn it with something?
Absolutely, and I like that one. That's a good word for it. Yes, you would dress it up. You would adorn it. Yes.
Indeed. So, yeah, I mean, Brando, as as expected, came out with a good intensity in this thing. I mean, Sutherland started it off with, with kind of his own intensity. Started with a couple of good shots there. Brando handles all of that, thwarts the takedown attempt, and then it's the Brando show after that. You know, just a couple really nice knees, some uppercuts, get Sutherland down to his knees and spamming shots, a couple of which were to the back of the head. We can talk about that. You know, again, there are no rules in the UFC anymore, people. I can't yell about it any more than I already have. So I'm just starting to not really consider it as much anymore because I just for my own mental health, I have to. But yeah, you know, a couple of good shots, including some that were not legal, but Goddard is standing there watching them. So, you know, a fair play. And, Brando just stayed the course, kept this thing going, got the finish thereafter.
Absolutely. And a Ram, I see you. You're
Oh,
here.
hell
Shout
yeah.
out you.
Shout
But
out to
either way,
Ram.
no, this fight actually is pretty good because Brando, I gotta get Jillian Robertson all over again. Brando, he's pretty good. I mean, when you think about a city kickboxer, I mean, you know the style, you know the outside game, you know the point striking. But this is a heavyweight that can do that. Excuse me, guys. This is a heavyweight that can do that. For how long is definitely the question. I mean, if he's able to do this for a longer period of time than we're expecting out of a heavyweight, then that's going to be a positive. But if you add a city kickboxer with, you know, some decent striking power, I mean, it can be pretty deadly. I mean, when you look at Izzy, I mean, he didn't knock people out all the time, but you know, the times that he was able to land clean, I mean, Paulo Costa hasn't. When was the last time that dude's been knocked out, kind of deal, you know? So I would let, and Kelvin Gastelum got knocked a bunch of times by that dude too. And you know, Joe Pyfer is the only dude that's done that since, kind of deal. I don't know if that's even true, but Brando speaks to me as somebody who stock is warranted as an Aussie fighter. They don't get many that you would say, you know, Quill and Salkett, of course, you know, JDM, of course, Volk. But when it comes to prospects right now, I would say this one might be a decent one to look out for as a heavyweight that can stand on the outside. And if he has a heavyweight's ability to just one punch drop anybody kind of deal, that's good. Louis Sutherland took decent beating, I guess. You know, you talk about the back of the head shots. I'm not really worried about it too much. Louis really just didn't even have anything for this, you know, whatever. Brando came in, got it done. I appreciate this performance. Another debut patch card I think we'll be on the lookout for.
I like it. Yeah, no, definitely. No, you know, my whole little preamble about all of what Brando had to encounter from Sutherland in this fight is really my biggest note for him. Obviously, the power is there. I don't think that was ever going to be in question based on what we've already seen from him. But what I really wanted to highlight from this fight was the defensive acumen because, you know, Louis Sutherland coming in, trying to get this thing to the ground immediately, a lot of heavyweights would have problems with that. We know this to be the case. You know, it's only now starting to be where heavyweights are more well-rounded enough to be able to encounter that type of adversity and roll it through, you know, which is literally what he did. He had to roll it through with Sutherland as he was trying to roll through. He stayed with it, and that's when he got the finish. So I liked that from him. I thought that it was really the thing that stood out to me as something that like could set him apart. That and the fact that, you know, you're talking about him being Australian. Of course, he is Australian by way of some Eastern European country. He's got an entire family back there. This
Huh.
dude left his family back home to train in Australia because he is following his dream of being a professional fighter. So, I mean, this dude's dedicated to the game. He's got the power. He's got the skill to be defensively sound. I'm liking this as a prospect myself.
No, absolutely. I'm excited to see what he's got for us. Obviously, we're gonna need him to. We're gonna need to see him against somebody who's a little higher caliber. I mean, obviously, Louis Sutherland is not the greatest of all time, but he had never been finished up until this point. So, well, finished on the feet. There is, Walter Walker obviously subbed him, but Louis Sutherland is maybe just not the UFC level that we are expecting from him. But Brando being able to finish him is definitely a good sign. We've seen plenty of heavyweights who just slob around for the next 2 rounds kind of deal. We've been getting a little too accustomed to heavyweight decisions kind of deal. It's kind of crazy.
Very true. Yes, no, absolutely. That is that is something that just is a course correction that we know that the organization is trying to make happen. They're trying to get that course recalibrated. It takes time for all of those fighters to actually come in and make themselves names. These are the type of people that could make that happen. So yeah, shout out to Brando on that. Also shout out to Brando for giving away his win bonus. I was curious about this. He said that he was going to give it away to a fan.
Well, so the thing is he said, we need to go ahead and get that 100,000 performance bonus. He didn't get that.
Right.
So
I was going to say, giving away a win bonus he didn't even know if he was getting and then did not get.
he would get a finish bonus. Yes, like 25,000 is the
Right.
standard finish that he would get. So maybe I didn't hear him correctly, but no, when after I think it was Bisping, he goes, "Let's have a shout out to him who said he's going to give his whole fucking thing away." Basically he's like reiterated what he said and I was like, maybe he did say that. That's kind of an interesting one. Everybody else is broke as shit, but he'll just fucking give away 100 grand. Like, fuck it.
Well, and my thing, whenever that, there are a lot of like stipulations that come with those kinds of things, especially when we're talking about the amount of money that he's talking about. So like who got it? How was he deciding it? What was you know what I mean? Like you open up a big can of worms with those kinds of things. And anytime that there is money involved in giveaways and any of these sort of things, basically bringing the internet into the fold, it just leaves you open for all kinds of ridiculous bullshit, which we now actually, speaking of which, just small little side note, we just saw that Piotr Jan has launched a coin of his own. So it's like, come on, people, would you get off of this bullshit?
That's what I was gonna say. How he's gonna pick his fucking person is you're gonna have to go follow him on Instagram, like and subscribe. I actually think he even said that in the post fight. He's, follow him, DM him, repost, do all this stuff, and I'll pick one random winner. It's like, who knows how that actually works,
Yeah.
whatever, not my
Well,
business.
I know who can tell you how it works is Brendan Schaub. He might be able to tell you a thing or two about giveaways.
Gotcha. Yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, but regardless of that, great win for Brando. Someone to keep an eye out for, and a very quick finish on this one too. So I mean, quick in the grand scheme of this card for sure.
I wanted to say this about the other fights, but thankfully he actually even got a post fight speech. Back in the ESPN era, we would get a post fight speech for anybody who got a win, and we would always be thinking like, why the fuck, like who even care? Like, come on, you didn't even win that well, it was not even anything, and then they'd come out here and they get to talk and post their fucking, promote their fucking podcast and shit like that. But Brando was one of the people that actually did get a post fight speech. Anybody else before this, Sawadi did not get one. I don't believe. Chanel, I'm not sure if she did, but even
She did.
later on, we didn't get some people that definitely should not have talked on the mic, and they didn't get to. And I thought that was good. Even with the fight cancellation, I figured they might have padded that in there, like let's give everybody the time, But no, they didn't give a shit this time, and I
Yeah.
respect Paramount. They're actually making some good choices, in my opinion, when it comes to that stuff.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct on that. The one or two good things that I have also noticed based on the Paramount changes is the pacing has been great, and exactly what you're talking about with that. The post fight interview is now merit based solely. And that is, I think, very fine. Like, we don't need to have people talking on the mic if they don't warrant that from the fans. The fans are the ones that should be telling you if they deserve that time, and you get that out of the fight.
Well, and then I think this goes back, unfortunately, to like the atmosphere that England kind of brings to this is they didn't really they didn't have a problem with a lot of these wins or losses. Like I didn't hear the crowd really get an uproar about any of these. I even when they should have, I was like, is anybody here? Like what's going on? For this one, you know, they weren't even when he said he was going to give away 100,000. It's like you heard a pin drop. It's like nobody was even there. So I don't know. Good that they gave Brando a moment to talk. It was a fun post fight speech, but thankful that they did not give everybody a post fight speech. So
True. Absolutely. Well, find out over here. Yeah, this is another one that did not get a post-fight speech. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't remember 100%. But we'll talk about the fight itself, because this was another one that I was a little bit frustrated by. This is Montes Contratavicius versus Antonio Tricoli. What's up?
You're frustrated with this fight. Please don't sit here and tell me that you're going to be one of these people that didn't think this was like very impressive.
Um, it was impressive, but there are caveats to it.
This was a very good performance from Montes. I mean, he came in shape. He was willing to, withstand what Tricoli was throwing at him, which was a lot of just body weight stuff. He was just trying to gas him out. The whole first round he's just laying on him. And then Montes actually was able to start muscling him around for a second. Montes is a pretty strong dude. Even when Tricoli was shooting for the takedowns, he shot 12 of them things. Montes actually, even in the first, he was so good with his base that the judo was just not working on him. He was able to whizzer and get right back to his feet. Montes was looking really good, really sharp in the striking, very aggressive. Most of the shots that he was throwing were just powerful strikes. I'm not surprised that he gassed it wasn't early, but dude, he was going for the kill. This dude should have been out of here. Obviously he didn't finish him with the elbow in the second, but it dropped Tricoli. And then he went for the finish and was looking very, very labored. He definitely finished the fight throwing though, and I think that's what's the cardio is the biggest issue. This is the first time he's ever been to the third round. Of course, people want to say that he should have finished Tricoli, but Tricoli is a very tough fighter. To finish him, you have to put him out, kind of deal. And the submissions are a little different when it comes to that because Montes doesn't have that game yet. But he was able to continue striking, continue putting pressure up until the final bell, even when he gassed way earlier in the fight. He gassed way earlier after that elbow and after that flurry. He was kind of checked out. But then we got to the break. We got a couple nut shots that we had to take a couple breaks for. That we'll talk about here in a second. But the performance was all around really fucking good. I thought Montes showed a lot, showed heart, showed grit. He was willing to continue fighting through as much, as tired as he was. I will admit, if this was a different opponent than Tricoli, he would have gassed very early, and they would have, if it's some Neil Magny type performance, they would have just turned the tables and finished him late, kind of deal. But obviously, he would have fought different against that opponent. Montes went for it, did not get it, but I still think all the skills on the table, he looked very sharp. Submission skills. Obviously, if he would have got the rear naked at the end of the fight, at the end of in the second or whatever, when Tricoli was just fucking doing the thinker position or whatever he was doing, like it would have been fine. But I still think for a debut fight like this, Tricoli he's kind of tough when it comes to striking with him, and he almost finished him. It wasn't the greatest performance, but I thought this was very, very, very good.
No, yeah. See, what I would say to it is just that Montes has a lot of the raw skills that just need refining. That's all that it
Mm.
is. It's that there were a lot of great things in this fight from him. There are just a couple of instances that I saw kind of holes that need shoring up. One of which, like you said, was the cardio. That was definitely the most apparent one. And then the other was just a couple of fight IQ issues, and that was where the finishing came into the play. I mean, that second in the second round when he dropped him with the elbow, that should have been where this fight ended, because that was the only thing I took issue with. What you said is that, Tricoli is a tough fighter that it's hard to finish. We've seen him finished multiple times. Now, granted, those have been off of chokes. I get you on
Yeah.
that. Yeah, he's hard to knock out. I can certainly go with you on that part. But Mantis had him dropped, so you have to know that you got to stay on the gas with that. Mantis is standing over him, deciding where the entry point is. Brother, no, go. You got to go. So I mean, it's just things like that, and those are just things that come over time with a little bit more experience. Whatever. Mantis 9-1. This is fine. 8-1 coming into this fight or whatever. This is all fine. This is going to continue to get better. There were certain things in this fight that I was like, man, this could have been one of those like highlight coming out, debut performances, which to an extent it still was. I mean, like, it's definitely raises his stock. But against Tricoli, who we have said multiple fights now, why is this guy even still here? Like, this could have been a very good nail in the coffin. Even it probably still is the nail in the coffin for him. But either way, this could have been a definitive nail in the coffin for him, and something to set Montes off with a nice highlight reel clip to start off the next fight.
We're gonna get into the ref thing here in just a second, but I want to say one thing: in a sense, I kind of feel for Antonio Trocoli. Actually, did you hear how Bruce Buffer said it?
Well, I say it's funny that you mentioned that. I said that there's no I in team or in Tricoli apparently.
Antonia Trockle.
Yeah,
I was like, I was waiting for him to say it. I was like, well, he just stopped. He just dropped it off. He maybe ran out of time. They cut his mic off. I don't know. But no, Antonia Troccoli, I kind of feel for him because for a dude who rarely does much right, in the fights, he gets his ass whooped. Even in this one, he's getting his butt whooped, or gets choked out early. In the third round of this fight, he found himself in full mount. No, he has nothing left. He didn't train for this opportunity. He didn't even think like, we're going for it in the third round. We can get on top and we can finish. He got on top. He had nothing. He had nothing left. That third round, Tricoli was just holding on to him, just trying to catch his breath. You have the ref, which was, again, this is where we're going to get into the ref for this fight. Hilarious. Action, boys, come on, action. He kept getting real mad about it, like, come on, I already told you once, let's go. And then the nut shots. So we get a nut shot, and then he's like, all right, go over there. No, you stay here, no, you stay here. And then he's like keeping them 2 feet away from each other, and he's like playing this game with them. And then the next nut shot that we get, I didn't even know it was a nut shot because we were watching it from an angle of backside. Like we're looking at them, head on kind of deal. And the ref stops it. And then I'm thinking, because we have watched 3 minutes of them doing nothing but lay on each other, it looked as if the ref just gave them a timeout. He's like, look, if you're not going to do shit, take a moment. And he looked at Mattis. He's like, let me know when you're ready. I'm like, did he just like fucking tell him that you can just get a breather, and then if you're going to be active when you come back, then we'll take the time, and then they show the replay, and I'm like, oh, okay, thank God it was a nut shot, because this
true.
dude, it wasn't even that crazy to think about if he just did that. I was like, this is just where we're at in the sport. We just take timeouts. I don't know.
I guess so. Yeah. Well, the first nut shot was interesting because actually both of them, really, if you think about it, because Tricoli didn't react to it. Like he was kind of just going to tank it, which I was like, I guess kind of Chad move, but at the same time, like if you took it in the nuts, maybe it's up to you, I guess, how you react to it. So whatever the case may be, the first one didn't get called. Second one, ends up being one that gets called, but it's only the referee who decides because he heard the sound. And listening back, on the rewatch, I was like, oh, you can definitely hear it, but you could hear both of them. So I don't know. Tricoli just over here, balls of steel, I guess.
You know why you can hear it, and because Joe Rogan is not a fucking liar, guys. The steel tie cup actually does work, and Tricoli proved it. He didn't even feel the first couple of them, and then it's funny because I think it was one of the commentators. He got nut shotted. The ref, looked. The ref broke it up, and then Tricoli was like, yeah, definitely, give me that little break there.
That was funny. Yeah. Felder was saying that. Yeah, that it was like, oh, I'll just take it. I was like, okay, yeah, sure. I mean, fair enough, I suppose. But you were right. Yeah, Rich Mitchell was the referee of this thing, and generally, I think that he's okay as a ref, but he was in this fight, bro. Like Jesus Christ, dude, you're in there. You're shouting at these guys over and over again about like activity. What? If either take an action or get out of the way, bro. Like he's all over this fight. And then what you were talking about on the watch along, I was saying Rich Mitchell went into a traffic cop mode. All right, you go over here. No, you stop. The one over here. Over here. It's like oh, bro, what is all of this? Like Rich Mitchell was really making himself a part of the show over here. So very interesting in that regard. I don't really have too much else to say about it, I suppose, except maybe fall back a little bit. Again, either have a definitive action or get out of the way because you are not the show, my friend.
I think back to the fight itself, though. I think what this is, obviously, when you talk about the third round, yeah, there wasn't even much happening. These two dudes were destroyed when it came to cardio. This is a learning curve for Montes. Obviously, I gotta not expend all my energy, going for the finish unless I absolutely have it, and don't leave the opportunity for them to recover if I have them, kind of deal. A lot to grow from here. I think Montes is still going to shape out to be somebody that's pretty good. I mean, this dude, I was watching it with my dad, and he was letting me know, like he was going for the finish. Even again, as tired as he was, his arms were still swinging. We saw Moicano just his last couple fights when he couldn't even throw the punches against Dariush. Like his arms just didn't even go upwards, kind of deal. Montes was tired, but he was still in the fight. He was still willing to walk forward, trade, and then in the grappling, he wasn't doing shit, but like he was doing good work. I really appreciated him in this performance, and I hope people are not as hard on him for this.
Oh yeah, no, and that's the thing is that's why I'm saying I think that these are all fixable problems. The fight IQ and I think really possibly to an extent just the confidence in being in there at the highest level of the sport is what will come over time. That's going to help him out and make him the fighter that he will ultimately become. Because really, like looking at these scorecards, one judge gave it a 30-27. That certainly was not correct in my opinion. But it's my point is that those holes in the game that led to the fight going the full distance are what ended up where Mantis now drops around to Tricoli when it didn't have to be that way. So if once he starts fixing these little problems in the game, these things that are just standout sore thumbs, that's when he's going to be at his 100% peak effectiveness, because then he does not go to the third round. Then he gets that highlight. Then everything is right with the world. You know what I'm saying? So there's just a couple of things. You fix those, you get everything on track, and then you become who you ultimately are supposed to be.
I think the last thing that I want to note is this comment right here is actually really good. So, Meat Rocket, shout out you, but obviously, Thinker only hates Tricoli because he's banging McKenzie. It's got nothing to do with fighting skills.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm sure that that's part of it. No, it would either be that or the fact that he doesn't need to be in there, period, because he's getting money off of his illustrious poker career. So,
Yeah.
Come on, guy. I mean, you got McKenzie's money coming in as a champion. You're getting it. So you're already getting fight money there. You got all this money coming in as a master poker player. What do we need to see you in here having mediocre fight performances for?
It's kind of funny because obviously, at the poker table, everybody wears their shades, because they can't give away their poker face. Antonio Tricoli wears his shades because he gets mercifully beaten in the face in his matchups. I don't know if you saw him coming out the second round or whatever. He just had the goggles of red around him. He's just
True. Yeah. Actually, that reminds me of the last thing I wanted to mention here. And this is another note for Montes going forward. Not really something he can do anything about, but Montes suffers from the same problem that Zachary Reese has, where Montes is white as fuck, boy. Like his complexion is going to be an issue going forward. We've talked about this on the podcast before. Luckily, he didn't take any real damage in this fight, but just be aware when you're betting on this fight. And again, I say this really more of like from a bettor's perspective and just a purely analytical perspective. When you wear damage like people of a fairer complexion do, it can sometimes be an optics game that does not go well for them. So just keep in mind that if Montes is taking heavy damage to the face, you saw the reason that I noticed this is because his back was welting up red off of hugging, basically off of clinching. So it's like, if that's going on his back, just be aware that sometimes he's probably going to be bloodied. He's probably going to be having black and blue going on the face. The judges are going to have to interpret that however they're going to. So just a note.
I would just like to say also that elbow that he landed to Trocoli, I mean, that ends a lot of people, a lot of early prospects that he would be, other people that he could potentially be fighting. I think that would have ended a lot of other people. That was, dude, he shut Trocoli down I mean, good recovery by Trocoli, but he got to lay there for a few seconds. So, you get it.
And I mean, really, that's what I'm saying. Like, had that elbow been followed up the way that, he should have followed it up, this does not go to the third round. He does not drop that third round. He gets a highlight off of it. Everything would have been hunky dory at that point for all of that. But then, that just fix those couple of holes in the game. That's all it is.
Absolutely.
It's a good deal, Mantis. Shout out to Lithuania.
All right. And speaking of holes in the game.
Well, I mean, holes in the fucking fight. Good Lord. This was
in my wall.
This was Mario Pinto versus Felipe Franco. I mean, just the first note, obviously, that this fight was not great. This was not a fun fight to watch. Franco impressed me to a slight degree in the sense that he is a very small heavyweight. This is a guy whose size is going to be an issue for him throughout his entire career. No two ways about it. He's a very built heavyweight for sure. He's muscular. He's got the frame for it, but he is a small guy. And he was getting muscled around by a Mario Pinto that did not seem to give a single fuck about being in this fight.
Yeah, this one is absolutely crazy. I would love to say that on Felipe Franco's side, he's at heavyweight, did not seem to be able to make a very reasonable size at heavyweight. It was kind of short notice, so I want to believe that he's probably going to be at light heavyweight the next time that we see him. When he first came in here, I said, "Oh, good luck, Mario. Now you have you have the striking version of Jailton. Little did I know, this is the training partner of Jailton Almeida. Did you catch that?
True.
So
Yes.
I'm not having much stock in him after hearing that. I mean, if this is the guy that has been striking with Jailton as a partner or training partner, or if they've been striking anywhere near each other, Jailton was fine. When he was confident, it looked good. But I don't know if I trust this dude yet because Mario Pinto, I mean, the thing that I'll say, it goes back to weight classes matter. They exist. This was two different fucking size guys here. Like, this was unfortunately a giant versus a very average kind of sized guy who was very stocky built, yes, and very a heavyweight. But Mario Pinto is ginormous compared to him, and he unfortunately had nothing to offer. Like, it seemed as if there was no real competitiveness in this fight because I've seen. I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm looking at the numbers. Yeah, Mario Pinto shot 14 times, and this dude defended, it looks like 12 of them. But Mario Pinto, bro, I feel like I've seen him with a different level of intensity. They kept talking about in the fight, he never changes his expression. He's so emotionless in there. He's real stoic. And it's like, I don't know. I see him outside this shit, and he's got a different jovial kind of attitude. Like, when I feel like I've seen him fight before, he was locked the fuck in. What happened here? I don't
Yeah,
know.
he just looked either off or disinterested. I don't know exactly what it was too, because to your point, while we were on the watch along, I think it was Bloomis actually. Shout out to Bloomis always. But he had mentioned he's like, look at his tapology. If you go to his tapology, Mario Pinto, the picture of him on there is him screaming like a madman. So obviously, this guy is not always this. I mean, this is not
Yeah.
always his demeanor. But yeah, I mean, I agreed with his corner. His corner was in between rounds 1 and 2 was like, bro, you're way too chill out there. There's no urgency. He kept that throughout the entirety of this fight. What I said about Pinto is, or excuse me, what I said about Franco is that if Franco could have dug deep, I think his cardio was starting to wear on him towards the end. But if he could have turned up the output in the third round, he very well could have won this fight. I mean, like, it's kind of crazy to think about based on the size difference and everything that you saw. But with what we had going on throughout the entirety of this thing, it really would have only taken a little bit of a dig deep, find a couple extra shots to make this a different fight for him.
I feel bad saying it this way, but this is because I actually want Mario Pinto to be good. But, like, this is such a performance that doesn't deserve a win. Like, him basically just throwing it out there, just winging it in, phoning it in, really, is not of somebody who's 12-0 and deserves to have just an easy performance at 12-0. This is a multiple. This is your. It's supposed to be a consecutive win in the UFC, the top of the promotion. Like, you shouldn't just be able to just go out there and fuck around, kind of deal. And not saying it was, a fuck around performance where you got messed up and you kind of, figured it out, but, like, just there was no real game plan kind of deal. You were just winging it all. You were just out there having a fight again. And the commentary brought this up as well. It's hard to find tape on people, and we've talked about that before with the regional fights. What is even real? A lot of when you go to one, they have hundreds of fights. I've never seen not one of them. Kind of deal. So, is Pinto just not able to game plan well on the fly? Like, does he actually need, like, everything to be set in play? Like, I got to do this, and then I got to do this. When he does this, I do this, because it just seemed like the instincts weren't here for him. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, there was one moment on commentary where I think it was good in saying he's like, yeah, it seems like Pinto is just following his corner advice, like he's just listening to commands, and it's like the counter argument I think from Bisbing or one of the other commentators was like, that's fine, but at the same time, you have to yourself also lead the ship a little bit here. I mean, you are the fighter at the end of the day, so it's like on the one hand, yes, you listen to your corner, you take the advice, but like you have to also be on your toes. You got to be active. You got to be looking for the next position and going with what you're getting back from your opponent. It just seemed like this was a fight in molasses almost for Pinto. It just was very strange. But yeah, I agree with you when you say that this does not necessarily seem like it deserved a victory, but when you get what you got from the other side, it equals up to what it was.
Yeah, I just wouldn't look too far into this one. The only thing that I would say is, the only thing that me personally, when I'm looking forward to what I'm expecting from Mario Pinto, I mean, or what I see out of the fighter as Mario Pinto now, is like I see that there's a possibility for the switch to turn off. Some fighters, when they're in there, they have one mode, they go for it. Even some of the people that you would talk about are the worst. Michael Chandler. People can clown on him all you want, but when he's in the fight, he has the exact same idea every single time. He's going for the kill, and he's at 100%. Whether he thinks he's going to win and whether he does, he is always on it. Mario Pinto took the night off. How can I expect he's not going to do that the next time? Like, I don't know. That's it, whether and if he doesn't believe that he, quote unquote, took the night off is maybe harsh. Whatever you want to say, throwing it in, phoning it in. If Mario Pinto doesn't see it, like, I just I this is a prospect that I feel like this is the last one of a group of prospects that have all died out kind of deal. Mario Pinto's the last remaining one that we have chips in. This is not the performance I wanted, I would say.
No, I agree. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everything you're saying is tracking, and this also goes back to my favorite quote from CTE, who is still not here, by the way. But shout out to CTE for it, where he says, "I prefer entertainment in my entertainment. This did not deliver on that, and now gives you questions about Mario Pinto, who is an undefeated prospect, who is conceivably going to move up off of this performance. This is another victory in his, in his bag here now. So, what do you get after this, and what can you expect after this?"
I think it's just a key thing to think about is like, what does the fighter leave unanswered? Compared to, like, in the first fight we had Chanel Dyer. I questioned her and she immediately answered. She is answering questions that I didn't even know I needed to have, kind of deal. Mario Pinto is leaving room for you to wonder what could happen in those moments. Like, when he's not locked in, what's going to happen, kind of deal. If the right opponent is, Ante Dalia kind of deal,
That's actually a really good one, because what I was going to follow up with is again, we talk about the optics in this sport with that type of lackadaisical approach. Ante Dalia is a great example of how that can really swing the wrong way, because it's, if you have a guy who is this nonchalant in the fight and another guy who's coming in extremely intense, even if his technicality is not as great, like even if he's not getting his way, just the level of optics that you're going to see with one guy being one way and the other guy being the other way is definitely going to be noticeable to the judges. So
absolutely.
yeah, so the Pintu's on watch right now for that reason. Hopefully he comes out and gets back on track in the next fight.
Dong is on watch too. I mean, John Dong, of course.
You always be on the lookout for the dong in the chat for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, well, moving on to the next fight here. This is Nathaniel Wood versus Lucini Keita. Say his name right now, I guess, after hearing it spoken out loud. Although, what I would say coming into our review of this thing is I did not necessarily see anything overly impressive from Keita in this debut. Although it was a very spirited striking affair between the two of them, you're stepping into Nathaniel Wood's world when it comes to striking. This is going to be what happens in this case. So I mean, I didn't dislike it. I mean, you can definitely tell that he has the ability to strike and is someone who can be good at it in instances. But this was a really kind of one long round of the two of them sort of tagging each other, and this is what you get out of that.
I actually wish you would go harder on Lucini Keita. I think this is pretty crazy of a fight to think about, as that it was as boring as it was. This is Nathaniel Wood. You know what this guy can do when he gets a firefight. I don't think I saw Lucini Keita bring the fight to him in the way that it was going to be entertaining. These were just, I hit you, you hit me. I hit you. Lucini, unfortunately, is on the other end of I miss, and Nathaniel Wood, in my opinion, was landing a lot more. Keita, honestly, I mean, this is apparently some double champ of Octagon, and the meme going around is, so you're telling me Nathaniel Wood would go into Octagon right now and just be double champ? It's like, unfortunately, that's kind of the case, and I expect Nathaniel Wood split decision. I'm pretty sure I called it right down to a fucking T.
Yeah.
He brings the level of competition that you bring, and he'll edge it out if you're not that good. Keita, I actually thought Keita was going to win this one. Let me not make it seem like, I got everything right, because Thinker up until this point has been cooking. We didn't even go into that yet, but we'll talk about it later. Lucini Keita just didn't have the style to. It didn't seem like he was really ready to brawl with a guy who was really ready to just put it all on the line in front of his home territory. I'm just not, Lucini never really gave me the things to root for. I'm not a big fan at all.
Yeah, no, well, what I said is that Keita was just one-dimensional is how it looked to me. There was not a lot of variety to the game, and when you are playing the game that they were playing, you are in Nathaniel Wood's backyard, both literally and figuratively. I mean, obviously, you're in the hometown with Nathaniel Wood, and also you're playing the striking game that is his bread and butter. This is what he does. He is a very technically proficient. Bismarck said it on commentary. He's like, Nathaniel Wood is perfect when it comes to technicality. I agree. We said that on the last episode that Nathaniel Wood technically extremely impressive. If he had knockout power, he'd be a real problem. He does not have that, unfortunately. So you're playing his game if you are going this route. And if you're going to be one dimensional, then you're not bringing enough to the table to make it your fight.
What I find interesting about this is Lucini was supposed to fight Pitbull Patricio in his debut, and then
Correct.
he missed weight. The UFC was teeing up for the opportunity for Lucini to have a field day with Patricio because he just stands there and lets you punch him, kind of deal. And he, cardio machine, whatever you want to say. Nathaniel Wood, in the same sense, they were waiting for Lucini. They gave him another opportunity. Here's an opponent that gets hit. He gets hit. He is hittable and he gets knocked down. All you have to do is just rinse and repeat. And Lucini was just not willing to actually engage in the fight that was going to be entertaining. He didn't even look like he was playing the outside as well as he should. Like, bro, Nathaniel Wood is not the craziest fighter of all time. He just matches the level of people. And I think Lucini Keita, he got his level matched. And I think Nathaniel Wood was able to just beat him at his own game, which is unfortunately it makes Lucini Keita look really fucking bad, bro. Like it, not that it makes you look horrible that you couldn't just like because it was decently competitive, of course. Like Nathaniel Wood, like I said, this was a pretty boring 3 rounds. Nathaniel Wood definitely won, but Lucini Keita, he just proved that he's nothing crazy. That's all that I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I at least would give Keita a little bit of credit in the second round. I thought he swung the second round for himself because he got a big knee off there. I thought that was a pretty good connection. He had a couple of big swings as well. So I actually had it 1-1 going into the third. So the split decision does not surprise me all that much. I think that 29-28 Wood was the correct call. So I'm glad that they got it right based on everything that I saw in this fight. But yeah, I mean, it all goes back to the same kind of elements that we've been talking about here. You have to be better than your opponent. I think that sounds like a very simple thing to say, but when it is Nathaniel Wood and it's the game that he plays, you're like you have to rise to that occasion and best it. You have to be better than that. Like Wood is going to be a beautifully technical striker as he always is without power. So you have to have the elements that are going to overcome that. How about taking him down? I don't know if this guy has any ground game, but this does not go to the ground one time. So, I mean, where's the mixed martial arts element of it? Where are the things that are going to make you stand out as a prospect? You're coming in from another organization with belts under your belt, so to speak. What is that supposed to signal to me when I see something like this? I didn't get much out of it. The big note that I have that illustrates this commentary in the second round is talking about Kevin Vallejos. Funny to hear them glazing better fighters during other fighters' fights.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is what you get out of this. So yeah, Keita, lot to be desired, I would say. And Nathaniel Wood on the other side does exactly what he always does and gets the exact same outcome as he always does.
I don't know. I'm not trying to be a major hater on Keita, and I don't know if I've done this often, and if you guys have, if maybe this is a habit I have of not giving people many chances. But Lucini Keita, for coming into the organization missing weight and then having a performance like this, I mean, do we have a 1 fight deal? Did we? I mean, can we not like pick him up? Like, why? As somebody who's watching, what do I need to see out of this anymore? I mean, I don't
Oh,
know.
absolutely. No, you're exactly right. When you are making your debut, especially when you are not coming in through the contender series, this is actually a note that I was going to say about Shamrock. So I'm glad that this is coming up now. When you get the jump the line of coming directly into the organization, this is your proving ground now. You have to give us a reason to care about seeing you fight again. This did not do that in the slightest, bro. What value do you bring aside from a very standard striking affair? It looked like a hard spar. I mean, we can see a hard spar at any gym across the country, across the world. So what do we need you for?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this one, it's unfortunate because I've talked a lot about Nathaniel Wood. One of my favorite fighters currently, he's kind of just like my era of Dan Ige. He's the goodest that you get before great. But this one, unfortunately, just didn't deliver for me. And I know it's not Nathaniel Wood's fault because I've seen him in plenty of bangers. So it's Lucini Keita, and I blame him, and that's just his fault. So
Yeah,
whatever.
no, I mean, and look, if he is at the stage of being somewhat of a gatekeeper, then consider the gate kept.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it.
Yeah,
Give
same
him,
here.
give
So
him a ranked opponent now.
there you go. I mean, well, that's the interesting other side of this coin, right? It's like Nathaniel Wood ends up getting yet another split decision win. How do you interpret that? Like, is it worthy of that? I mean, is that the next step? I mean, and then what happens if you do actually get Nathaniel Wood somewhere in the rankings? Like, does he just float around towards the bottom of the middle? I mean, like, it's hard to say what his trajectory is based on what we have seen out of him.
Absolutely. But I would actually not mind if he just stays in the middle of the road. If he gets to a ranked opponent and happens to lose by split decision, and then they don't give him a rank, and then they give him some other surging prospect for him to get another split decision win or something, I am okay with that. That sounds like a good life to me because that sounds like entertaining fights.
Hey, fair enough. He can be the featherweight Sumadarji.
I don't love that, but okay, fair.
I mean, what is it? I think it's an apt comparison if based on what you're saying.
It might be, but I am still not on the Sumadarji train yet. So I'm gonna hold off on giving that comparison because Nathaniel Wood's my guy. Let me
All
just say
right.
that.
Well, fair enough then. Then I hope for your sake that he comes out and actually gets knockout power at some point.
Nah, yeah, I don't know if that's ever gonna happen, dude. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I mean, it's the only thing I'm really like that. That's the unfortunate. I said it on the last episode, but that's the unfortunate thing about Nathaniel Wood is that it's the only thing he needs. I
Hmm.
mean, because that the guy can stuff takedowns. He has decent, defensive instincts in that regard. Handles himself decently on the ground. If this guy could actually knock people out, it would be an entirely different world for him.
Absolutely. I unfortunately agree with you.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, I guess we've said everything we need to say about this one, right? We'll see if they keep Lucini Keita around.
They will, you know it.
I guess. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be upset if it wasn't the case, but who knows?
Yeah. All right.
All right, indeed. Well, let's talk about the featured prelim here and what a fight it was. Mason Jones fought Axel Sola. And Chase, we have a year-end wrap-up show, the two of us here on this channel, where we go over the best fights of the year. And it's been, there's a couple of things popping up here and there. We are in March, so I mean, we're only still 3 months into the year. But I'm looking at it. I'm looking at our fight tracker. And I'm like, there's not all that much on there yet. I don't think that we even have like a submission of the year candidate yet. That has been one that we both have said, like, this is a standout that we need to remember. But when it comes to fight of the year, there's only a couple of that have been like, we should probably remember this. This is definitely a fight that is currently on the fight tracker.
I was going to try to keep it silent so you didn't at the end of the year already have it wrote down. But yes,
Can't fool me, brother.
yes, this is absolutely on the list because I have started the list now as well.
Good.
I'm not letting you have all the shine of all the deep cuts
All
because
right.
and I'm actually going to prove to you why the deep cuts are good because you said we don't have a submission of the year's candidate. We actually did discuss one. Uh,
Ah.
Yaka Wiklax versus Muin Gafarov, the
Hey,
buzzer beater.
that is a really, really good one. Good call, brother.
But now here's one other one, and just because this is an early tidbit, we'll see what makes the final cut. Here's an early tidbit submission of the year: Jocelyn Edwards versus Nora Cornell. Slammed her on her collarbone, broke it, and then choked her out. So
True. Jeez, I forgot. Yeah, I forgot that that's how that ended was with the submission. Yeah, you're right. 'Cause I was going to say, oh no, TKO, but you're right. It was a
yeah.
submission.
But either way, that one obviously honorable
Well,
mentions
yeah,
for me.
and then look, it's only like you say, it's only March, so you can keep some of those close to the chest.
Absolutely. But yes, so this was early fight of the year candidate. But after rewatching, it, the third round was good, but I feel like it was a little more one-sided than a fight of the year. Obviously we saw with Volagdin and Martinetti, that was a two-sided war up until the bell kind of deal. I feel like, and this is not saying anything about Axel Sola. This was, again, fight of the year candidate. This was a great fight. With his size and his frame, you had to expect that he was going to slow down, be the slower guy by the end of it. And not that he was slowing down to the point where he wasn't doing anything, because he was still landing some pretty big shots. Mason Jones, another one of these guys that loves to get punched in the face. He just has to get punched in the face before he does anything good. And Axel Sola, did very good. Even, again, same thing with I saw with Montes. He's tired. He probably never been here before like this, but he is still pushing himself to get to the bell. Axel Sola, major props, big ups for sure.
Well, that's the big thing about it is just the fact that Sola. I mean, the third round, I agree, it was certainly a one-sided affair by that point. But just the fact that Sola was able to stay in this fight was like, dude, you got to give this guy credit. I mean, the gash on this guy's cheek was such a hatchet wound, and shout out to the corner people. They do a great job, of course, but like even they could not keep that thing from gushing by the end of this fight. It was such a noticeable amount of blood coming out of this dude's face.
I would love to point out, if you think back to the Smashing Machine documentary, when Mark Kerr was asking, what would you do for a win? Would you pull that cut? In the first round, after the knee lands, and Mason Jones points at him and does his little emote, which after he won the fight, all right, fair enough, fair play. Emoting is cool when you win, but Axel Sola went to the clinch, and Mason Jones, kept putting his hands up in his face. He didn't go to that clinch much more after that. I feel like he got a forearm right in that cut, and it was like, I'm good on that one. Let's
Sure.
not do the clinch with him anymore. But the first round was pretty crazy because Axel Sola really got the first of the shots because Mason Jones, and I had to go back and rewind because I was almost positive that he got his jaw broke in this because but no, he just has his mouth wide open the entirety of the fight. So he walks into a spinning elbow, mouth wide open, jaw cracked, looks really brutal in slow motion. But I mean, as you can see with the stats, I mean, he didn't even get a technical knockdown. And from what I saw, that was a knockdown. But I mean, that's how quickly he got up. The recovery was on a million for Mason Jones. And then to, of course, come back in that first round, land the big knee that opened up the cut, still lose that round, by the way. The biggest shot that Mason Jones landed was in the round that he lost, and then he was still able to come back and win 2 rounds on top of that. So I think Mason Jones, I'm not, listen, I'm not telling anybody news that they haven't heard yet. This kid is fucking good, man. This guy is a cold-blooded killer. He's, when I was growing up, people would talk about, Nate Diaz and these guys. What Mason Jones, brother, like Jesus Christ.
Oh, I mean, Mason Jones, the first note that I have for this fight, Mason Jones is quickly becoming one of my favorite fighters. A lot of respect gained for Axel Sola as well in this fight, but Mason Jones is the story of this thing. And what I say about Mason Jones, based on what we see here, Mason Jones is death by a thousand cuts a lot of times when it comes to these fights. He is volume plus escalating pressure. And that is no more apparent than in this fight. I mean, like you said, got dropped in that first round, ended up having, dropping that round regardless, even though he turned up towards the end of the round. But either
Right.
way, drops that first round, then consistently is finding the mark. The accuracy that this guy has based on the style of fighting that he brings to the table. He's one of those frenetic fighters that's like, really like the movements are somewhat frantic, but still able to hit the mark often. Like the accuracy is there plus the power, and that, starts ramping up. Then by the third round, he comes out in that third round and immediately hits the head kick that wobbles Sola. And, Sola just tanks that. Again, shout out to this guy, obviously one tough Frenchman over here. And then just keeps that going throughout the entirety of the fight, all the way up until the horn. I mean, like this dude is he's the real deal here. I mean, he's got like that nice 1-2 knee combo that he does, which I really liked. I was like, that's a nice standardized move that he can replicate consistently, especially towards the end of the fight when his opponent is wear down. I just the instincts are there. There is really not anything in my estimation to not like about Mason Jones.
I listen. I Everybody should be on the Mason Jones train by now. I mean, even the people that didn't understand that he was making his way back into the organization, it shouldn't even matter. He's established himself as a force. He needs a ranked opponent soon. He says he's going to take some time off, obviously, with the damage from this fight. Brother, take as much time as you need. You've earned it, kind of deal. But I would love to see him get back in here, get him a ranked opponent because he's been proving that he's one of the more electrifying people in the division. He may not be getting finishes, as of right now, but I still see some more coming for him. He finished Oki,
I
yes,
was gonna
right?
say, yeah, finished
Yes,
finished
okay.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, thinking about it, but yeah, no, but Axel Sola, what a dude that I think I can root for. Of course, this guy is really fun, really powerful. I mean, at best a weight bully, but like if he makes the weight, I guess I can't fucking say nothing, until it actually bites him in the ass, which you could say it did here, but again, Mason Jones is just a tough dude. The shots that Axel was landing, somebody who didn't have Mason Jones's heart and cardio is probably gonna, not take those very well in the third, and it would be more of an even matchup. But Mason Jones has just got so much experience on Sola, and this is only going to make him better. I mean, he went to war with one of the best at it right now, so I give him major props for getting all the way to the bell.
Absolutely. And the awareness of Mason Jones as far as like everything that's going on. You talk about fight IQ as well. Just I consider that in the same category of just like fight awareness, being on top of your surroundings and knowing what you're doing at all times. There was a time late in the fight, towards the end, where Jones kicked Sola in the body while he was on the ground, and he double checks with Goddard, and he was like, hey, that was legal, right? And Goddard was such a fan of this fight. He was like, bro, it's legal. Keep going. Like, I want to see more. So it's like, even Mark Goddard is recognizing the greatness of this guy, but also this guy being very aware that he was not trying to commit illegal acts in this fight. I loved it.
That was interesting because that happened twice actually. That one he kneed him while he was like getting up, like so Sola had like one knee down and one knee getting up, and like it was kind of a weird how the camera angle caught it. But Mason Jones like kneed him, and then he looked at Goddard and he's like, I'm sorry." And I was thinking to myself at that moment, you don't know the rules. Like I know it was close, but it's like you threw the knee and you didn't know the rules. Okay, fair, fair. And then when he did it again, I'm like, it was legal. Like when he kicked him when he was down, like, but you should have known it was legal. Like you threw it, like you were confident that you threw it, and then what are you like? I'm sorry. Like Mason, like be more confident in yourself. Throw the illegal strike and stand on business. Don't act like you were sorry about it. And these are the shit again. I watched this one with my dad as well. This was a good fight, and these are the shit that my dad drools over. He's like, I commend a guy like that. He didn't keep. He knew he did wrong, and I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, dude. If the ref don't fucking stop the fight, just keep fucking going.
Yeah, I
Just
was gonna
don't
say
fucking cry about it.
kind of blowing a hole in my thought that he was doing it with the intention of being aware, because it's like, well, if you're having to second guess it, then maybe you were not aware when you threw
Yeah,
it.
but either way, I think it's pretty funny. Mason Jones is a cool fighter. I appreciate him.
And also, yeah, the last note that I had about Mason Jones to just to conclude my glaze fest over here was Mason Jones great on the microphone as well, dude. The motivational speech was hitting for me. If you go back onto the watch along while Mason Jones is saying his motivational speech, it inspired me to also be motivating, and kind of replicating that in my own way for Yama. So I'm like, dude, obviously, if you're inspiring me like that transcends and it continues to replicate. So, never fucking give up. I said, hell yeah, gotta love this guy.
I think I sent this in the Discord. The other thing I wanted to talk about, because this is Axel Sola that I'm going to talk about. After his fight, after he just took his first loss or whatever you want to say, when he walks out the cage, you can see he's tired, obviously kind of upset that he lost. He does stop and take a picture with a fan, a young lad, of course. And I think it's not the fact that he did it, but it's the fact that you could see like he didn't have like anything left in him. He's like walking around like fucking needing water and shit. Look like a fucking Cameron Smotherman about to fall out, but he made time for that young lad. I'll give it to him. Shout out Axel Sola.
Well, and this is why a fight like this should be fight of the year candidate, or at least in that conversation, is because fights like these should make a fan of both fighter out of you. You should come away from fights like this being like, both of these guys, like there's commendability on both sides, and that extends, I guess, to a minor extent to what the stuff that we're talking about. Jones being great on the mic, Sola being a good guy outside of the cage. These are both guys that you can root for in multiple different ways. Got to hand it to both these guys. Definitely, keep Sola around for sure. He definitely deserves another shot here. And, Mason Jones, just keep doing what you're doing. Both these guys get a big stock raise from this fight.
I think they shared a beer after the fight too, something like that.
Gotta love that. Pulling the old Steven Asplin there. Let's go get drunk.
I one more thing, speaking of that point, we just saw a war out of these dudes. They just went to the bar afterwards. Most of the time you see a war, it's like, yeah, they're taking the picture in the hospital. Mason Jones just went out in the fucking block with his broken fucking jaw. He just get fix it later, fuck it, whatever. Axel Sola gets it sewed up and then he's out in the pub, whatever.
I mean, Chads are gonna do Chad things, bro.
True. You can't stop you can't hold a Chad in the hospital if they don't want to be there, guys.
It will not be contained. Exactly. So, yeah, great fight here. Great fight here. And I'm sure we'll be talking about it at some point again in the future.
Gives France a good rep.
Very much so. Yeah. And we talked about that a little bit on the watch along too. Like, all of the stereotypes about France or whatever, those are always going to be easy things for people to fall back on because people like to just make the easy joke, and people are generally rather stupid in that regard. People like this buck that trend, and that is what, as a fighter, you have to do. You have to be the person to say, "Yeah, you're going to make the stupid easy joke. I'm not going to let you do that. I'm going to show you that
Absolutely.
we got better out here." So yeah, I agree. And shout
Hell
out
yeah.
to Wales. You got another. We miss our dude Jack Shore every day. Now you got a new Welshman.
The real Welsh gangster right here, dude.
Indeed, indeed. So good deal. All right, well, moving on to the main card here. Curtis Campbell, he fought Danny Silva. I mean, I was talking about it on the watch along as well with this one, where I was saying all week and leading up to this fight, every single person is telling me that Curtis Campbell, he's the guy. He's got all this, that, he's the one, the next up, this and that, blah, 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 blah. And Danny Silva hit him with the air shotgun before the fight started, and then hit him with the shotgun in the fight as well.
Yeah, this one, what I will say, I think Curtis Campbell actually probably will be very decent. Taking a loss like this early on should get your head in the fucking game. You just lost in front of everybody. You wore your pink fucking shorts, you got knocked out, and it was your debut. Everything amalgamated to this should be the lowest that you've been right now. So hopefully a big comeback is coming, because what I saw in the first round, I saw very versatile striking. Okay. I also saw him get Danny Silva to the ground and almost take his back. It took his back for a little bit. Danny Silva is just very experienced when it comes to this. To be fair, I think credit should be given to Danny Silva. I know this is a debut guy. This is not somebody who has UFC grappling experience kind of deal, but Danny Silva, for somebody who is a boxer, 100%, straight off the bat, just boxes. He's got very good wrestling, very good defensive wrestling, and his grappling. He could have easily sat in the body triangle and just been stuck there for the rest of the first round. It was a decent amount of grappling for the first round. We get back to the feet, and it was close. Curtis Campbell won the first round, and I can see that there is a good, talented fighter there. This is obviously not something that anybody would have been able to be like, yeah, Curtis Campbell is going to take Danny Silva's back and he's going to control it. No, Curtis Campbell just has skills, and instincts led him to that position where he was able to capitalize. Now, in the second round, this is where Danny Silva, when it comes to striking, this is where the next level is, because he realized when Curtis Campbell backs up, he puts his right hand out. He blocks this. He blocks his right. He blocks here, but he just puts his hand out straight, and then every right hand over the top just landed bombs, just bombed him 3 different times. Every single time he just didn't get his left hand up. And Danny Silva just 31 seconds into the second round, I mean, he picked up very easily, because if you want to take into account that he didn't have much time on the feet with him, he was grappling for a lot of the first round. He figured out he's not blocking here. He puts his hand out, backs up, and I can just capitalize. And if I do, as Danny Silva doesn't have that many TKOs, decision merchant at best when it comes to UFC level talent. But this is somebody in their debut. This is somebody who hasn't really been taking shots from somebody who's been professionally training this for multiple years now, kind of deal, at the highest level. He didn't eat those shots. He has such a goofy look to him. His hair goes flying all over the place. I mean, he's in his pink shorts. We talked about this with the guy with the orange afro on Contender Series.
Yeah.
If you're gonna be the guy who looks like this, be prepared for when it looks like you are the worst fighter ever. When you are the guy who wears pink shorts with the 4-inch thick glasses, with the top knot or whatever. Be prepared to look like shit, and be prepared to look even worse when you get knocked out by a dude who's never knocked out anybody in the organization on your debut in your home territory, and you're the guy just wearing pink shorts, dude. Like, I don't know how to explain it to you. Same with Sugar Sean O'Malley. I mean, you got to win if you're going to be that guy, kind of deal.
Got to win your fights. I mean, this is a key fundamental point of the game for sure. And all of those things, you're exactly right. It's like, if you're winning your fights, it all tracks. If you're not winning your fights, it becomes very apparent that everything else was a flash and a fluff, and that's not what you want. Yeah, no, I agree with the early points you were making for sure. I mean, the defensive wrestling was great from Silva. I thought that Silva's wrestling in general really made the difference for for him, especially in the first round there. I mean, obviously in the first round, but kept him safe from a lot of what Campbell was doing when it came to the maneuvering. And you saw that Campbell was being very sticky. So it's like you said, the formative elements of a good fighter are certainly there. I mean, the building blocks all made sense. The other thing that I would bring to the table, perhaps, is that this did seem like a bit of an early stoppage, even though it's understandable considering that Campbell had been dropped like 3 times in a row. So it's like, what are you supposed to do at that point? I can understand it from the ref's perspective. Like, you can't just keep going down, going down, going down. But I mean, he was not out. So it does kind of put a little bit of a light on this, perhaps. But I was not super upset by it because I think that really it was the culmination of a poor set of maneuvering in the big picture as far as the overall game plan of Campbell. I think it almost seemed like he might have been underestimating Silva to an extent, and that is not, especially on your debut, bro. I mean, I know that you're in your hometown. I know that you're trying to big yourself up in front of the hometown crowd, but you got to know what's coming back at you, especially with a guy who has UFC experience under his belt already.
I don't hate the early stoppage call, because the reason I want to say that is because when Curtis Campbell got up after the stoppage, he was he motioned to the ref like, good stop, like, appreciate it, and it's normally when somebody's concussed and they are fucked up, they're like, what the fuck you stopping that shit for? He was at least in the right mind, like, I was getting fucked up, bro. Appreciate you for stopping it. I'm still here. I'm good, but it definitely was over. So appreciate that. So I don't know. I kind of I like to think that he was still there enough to know that the fight was over, but early enough to not have his brain damaged, long term kind of deal.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, Danny Silva is a student of Cub Swanson. Cub Swanson is one of my all-time favorite fighters. I was very happy to see that Swanson's team got the dub here. And if the plan was to come in his face, then do you think that he accomplished that plan, Chase?
Yes, absolutely. 100%.
No diddy, apparently. The only other note that I had for Danny Silva, of course, never the good move. He broke the cardinal rule in his post-fight interview. He said, I'm broke. It'd be nice if I could get a performance bonus. Well, that's exactly how you do not get a performance bonus. So unfortunate there.
Yeah, but the thing is Danny Silva, and I don't know if you noticed this, he represents Mexico now. They don't have it on ESPN, but he's representing Mexico, so he can say whatever he wants on the mic. Dana White will love him.
Did he end up getting a performance bonus?
I don't know, but he'll probably get a finish bonus. That's the new thing, guys. It's not performance, but like performance bonuses, that's just all political now. Finish bonuses is where it's at. If you get a finish bonus, that's guaranteed kind of deal.
I like it. I'm fine with that. Either way, good win for Danny Silva here. Curtis Campbell back to the drawing board, but I'm sure he'll come back. I mean, this is exactly when you're supposed to take the loss. I mean, really, he's a debut fighter coming in against a more experienced guy. Learn from the mistakes. I'm okay with it. I want better for Campbell. I want to be able to see how he's going to be able to navigate longer into a fight again, based on the fact that I'm amazed in the first place that this guy has ever cleared to fight, considering that he has glasses that are 3 inches thick and look like they could kill ants on the sidewalk with him standing at full tilt.
Curtis actually has really good kicks. I think the kicks were really good from him. The Muay Thai itself, I saw that he had the skills. Like, he threw a knee up one time and he like kind of came over with an elbow, but it just didn't look like he was fluid enough with it. Same thing that I saw with Chanel. Like, they just weren't able to track somebody down doing it. They needed somebody to walk right into them doing these moves for them to actually be working. So if he just spars a little more, just hard sparring with people that are similar size to him. Obviously, he's featherweight. There are a lot of people out there in the world that you can spar with. Just keep honing on your craft a little more is what I would say.
Absolutely. I agree. Well, moving on to the next one here, 2 people that I don't think have ever honed in onto their craft necessarily. I mean, maybe one of them to a minor extent, but never worked out. Roman Dolidze fought Christian Leroy Duncan, and really this fight was, to me, not great. It certainly, I remember, Chase, I think you posted in the Discord, there was a tweet from someone from the country of Georgia who had said that Roman is 1 foot out the door. He's building a business right now back home in Georgia. I said, maybe that's what Roman Dolidze should be focusing his energy on, is building up that business back home. And on the other side of the equation, Christian Leroy Duncan, he ain't it either. He ain't it either. I'm not. This fight was underwhelming to me. I did not particularly enjoy this fight.
I hate to be right about this because it's not something that I would say that I had a big sample size on, and you really just got to take a shot in the dark at some of these opinions in life. But Christian Leroy Duncan is when he's in the apex. I mean, he genuinely is John Jones. I mean, you can't even make it up. Like he looks like the most creative striker you've ever seen. He will knock out anybody that is like a bum, of course, but and the apex. But then when it comes to fighting in front of his fans, his hometown in London, he's absolutely tragic. It's Roman Dolizde. I mean, and you guys, for people who are actual fans of Christian Leroy Duncan, for people who understand that Roman Dolizde is not very good, you know, I root for the guy, but after seeing what I saw here, I should have seen more of the leg the heel hook spamming coming kind of deal because it's awful. But Christian Leroy Duncan at the same time is he should have been able to finish this fight with Delizde. Delizde is not very good. And to be fair, dude, the first round, the fact that Delizde looked like he was potentially going to do some good work in this fight, the first round went his way. He fucking landed some stupid back fist that dropped Christian Leroy Duncan. Like what in the world? It didn't drop him, but it definitely hit him, and it did something. And then Roman wrestle fucked him the rest of that round, kind of deal. But like the second and third round, Christian Leroy Duncan won. I will say that he won, but did it look like Christian Leroy Duncan that has won rounds in the past? No, not even close. I've seen him dominate people. I've seen him do the most creative striking. I've seen him mix in things that you've never seen. He's somebody who takes it to the next level when it comes to creative strikes because he's doing strikes that you've never personally seen. He's trying to do the Habana kick or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Like he's trying to make strikes up as he goes. And it works, but not always. And especially when you're in, bro, a pay-per-view, paid live event, whatever you want to say, premium live event, you got to do better than this, bro. Like fucking Jesus Christ. And when I first started watching the sport, Christian Leroy Duncan, his matchup against Tululin or whatever the guy's name is, he fucked that dude up. I was a big fan right there, and I knew it. And then he went up against Marco Tulio, and I said, he's back. He's back, everybody. He's gonna finish. And then he's coming to London, and I just knew he wasn't gonna be able to perform. I don't know. I just had the feeling this dude is a bright lights kind of guy. When they're on, he is off. I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to say if that's exactly it, but it certainly the proof is in the pudding, it would seem. Shout out to Sarah Toby, by the way. Appreciate you
For
here,
sure.
Sarah. But yeah, I mean, like there were flecks of good things from Christian Leroy Duncan in this fight. I mean, he hit a nice jump knee to the body to start the second round that put Delitze on his back. There's like it was instances, he had moments, but he's definitely a fighter. It seems like when the person is not giving him what he needs to look great, he cannot find what he needs to look great. And that is problematic in the big picture. So you have a fighter, this fight specifically was very bad for that because you have a fighter in Delitze. Delitze was on the ground so much that commentary was speculating that that's just where he wanted to go. Like he wanted to take this thing to the ground so badly that he was taking himself to the ground. And that's a fine thing to look at it that way because he was making it seem that way. The guy is dead bugging on his back. He's beckoning CLD to come to the ground with him. That is not how you get it to the ground. Paul Felder was making good points on that to that end, saying, you have to make him come to the ground, brother. He's not just going to go there willingly. So, Delitze he's trying all these spinning attacks that aren't landing. He's wanting it on the ground so bad. Delitze just looked horrible. And thus, when you have on the other side Christian Leroy Duncan, who needs a fighter who's going to meet him halfway to be a handshake fight, basically, he didn't get the handshake. So this is what you get out of that. You get a weird, sort of disjointed, clunky fight between two. I mean, Christian Leroy Duncan certainly did win 2 out of the 3 rounds, so he deserved the win here. But I mean, it's hard to say that there's a better future coming for CLD. I mean, like, it seems like the ceiling only gets heightened by inches every fight that he wins,
Yeah, I actually think this fight is where I've realized, and I didn't get to see Roman in his prime or anything. I'm not gonna act like I did. I never saw him, athletically gifted to a point where I should say that this is different. But I would say Roman Dolizde has shown his age enough where I'm done witnessing it.
You're off the train. I
Yeah,
understand. This is what I'm saying, dude. Again, I don't know how true that tweet was that you posted. I don't know if that person was actually from Georgia. It's the internet.
his
You never know the
fucking
truth.
cousin or something. Like, I
But
don't
that's
know.
that's kind of what I'm saying. It's like I don't even really care if the tweet was accurate or not at this point. It's like whether he has a business back home, whatever. The elements of what you saw in the fight proved the tweet true, whether the tweet was true or not. And
Yeah,
that's what I'm seeing out of this. So I mean, CLD, I like it's hard to say like, yeah, oh wow, I can't wait for that guy to come back. I guess if it's going to be in the Apex, maybe I'll be excited for it. But you can't only win in the Apex. That does not make a champion. I said this man will never hold a title is seeming more and more true every day for CLD.
100%. I'm honestly not. I was never thinking that that was even possible after the last couple performances. I
I
mean,
mean, he's certainly calling for it, though. This is one that actually did get an interview, which I thought was a little strange. But he's in the post-fight interview saying, anybody in the top 15, that's what I want next. And I'm like, dude, the top 15 is gonna probably give you some problems. Probably give you
yeah,
some problems.
yeah, absolutely. He should probably go up against the Iron Turtle, I would say.
That's actually, yeah, I could see that being one where he might actually get his way in that kind of a fight. But Iron Turtle might tank a lot of the damage. So that could be a good fight.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yet another one that only raises the ceiling by inches, though.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But yeah, delete say, sorry, brother, your time has come and gone. I would say go and hopefully that business out in Georgia is successful for you.
Yes.
All right, next up, somebody who has a much brighter future ahead of them, hopefully here, Ivo Baranchevsky versus Austin Lane. This dude, Austin Lane, really thought he'd move down to light heavyweight and have the size advantage. And the problem with that is that he does not have the chin or the power to make that a thing.
Hear me out.
Yes.
And I'm not saying this was going to change the outcome, but I think this was a little early of a stoppage.
No, I said that too. Actually, I said it's probably a little bit early because Lane wasn't out, so an early-ish stoppage. But I was not same with the other one, the Curtis Campbell. I was like, yeah, it's not the worst in the world, but really, I mean, what I said about it is that the ref, it was Lucas Pisaki's fault with this one. The ref was in, he wasn't in, he was there. He's like his nuts are on Evo's shoulder for this thing for a lot of it leading up to the finish.
Yeah, this is unfortunate. But it's Austin Lane. I mean, what could you expect? Evo is unfortunately in a spot where he's just finishing his opponents so quick that we don't get to know exactly how good he is, what his skill level actually is. Even in his post-fight speech, he says, I trained for 15 minutes. I was expecting 15 minutes kind of deal, but we don't need it, kind of deal. And like, it's cool, good. When we actually have to see it is when it's going to get interesting. One round is one thing. If he makes it out of the first round, that is one thing. Making it two additional rounds after that is a completely different beast. Evo is definitely a fun personality. He kind of has that, like, he's just like an adorable kind of character in the sport kind of deal. So I feel like he might pop off to be one of those social media superstars that's not really like active in social media, but every time you'll just see him everywhere. And it's like, oh,
Fan
that's Evo.
favorite, yeah,
Yes, absolutely.
for sure.
I could definitely see that for Evo, but 28 seconds, two punches is all it was. I mean, 10 is what it says here, but I mean, it was only about two is what I saw.
I was going to say, I call it a one punch man over here. I mean, really, it was just the single first shot was enough to start the sequence off. And that was it. I said that this was one of those knockouts that you don't even pop for, it's just like, yep, that's what happens when that happens here. And that's really what it was. I mean, I think that really, this was kind of an unfortunate thing too, because we all saw this coming. Like, I don't think there was a single person on the planet who didn't think that this was how it was going to end. I just don't think anybody thought it was going to end that quickly and off of a single shot to start the sequence.
I agree with Hydra here. I am very like first round guy. Best post fight speech of all time.
Yes, I thought that too. That was definitely awesome. Yeah, you're absolutely right about Evo. He's got that sort of like casual personality, but when you pair that with the intensity he has in the fights, makes him very likable. Legendary Polish power. Shout out to Toby in the chat as well, saying that I mean, we need more legendary Polish power to be in full effect. He Jan walked so that he could run here, and he's certainly doing that now. So I'm completely okay with all of that. I love it.
Yeah, no, Evo is. I'm just excited to see what he does next. I'm not gonna lie to you. He is a very fun fighter for the 1,200 seconds that we've seen him in fights. So Good
Yeah,
deal.
absolutely. And in this kind of, I see the chat talking about his judo. Hydra had mentioned that on our last episode, saying, "Hey, keep an eye out for some judo out of this guy. He wants to mix it in." Obviously, we need to get this guy an opponent that's going to make him have to do that, because
Hmm.
really, this is what we've been saying. What we said it on the watch along. We're like, when there are hot shottings in this sport that you're like, is that right? Is it not right? What's the reason for it? If there's ever a person who I would be completely okay with hot shotting, especially a light heavyweight, Ivo Baranchevsky. Get this guy somebody who is of the caliber that he deserves at this point. Make him work a little bit harder. I'm okay with all of that. So we'll see if he has to use his judo coming up.
What I'm gonna say is Evo's what it's speaking to me like is the best test for him right now. Same thing with Austin Lane, how he moved down a division to try to take this matchup. I think we're going to have to see a middleweight who's ready to tack on an upper weight class that's going to be a little more experienced, like not the biggest name, of course, but somebody who's maybe been ranked at middleweight at one time. That could be Evo's opponent, and we'll see them come up to a new weight class. Hopefully, they have some sort of game plan that can showcase if Evo's going to have grappling or judo or whatever we want to say. And then potentially that's a good showcase that Evo will have because he's going to have kind of a smaller guy at heart kind of with him, and he could just toss him around for a little bit. I kind of like this idea for Evo. It seems a little handpicked, but I'm okay with that. Fuck it.
I get you make it that way. He makes it that way. Like it's like,
True.
you are demanding that with the performances that we've seen. We talked on the last episode about his fight with Ibo Aslan. I mean, this is a fight like that sets you apart in people's mind to begin with. We knew it was a tee up fight. He took that tee up and knocked it out of the goddamn park. He is making his way with all of what he is doing. I think that the trajectory writes itself.
True, and going back to Montes, you're talking about the tee up fights. Montes didn't hit his
Now,
out the park kind of
now
deal.
you're getting it. Now you see, and there you go, Chase. You just exactly nailed why I was saying what I was saying about it. Nothing against Montes. I think that he is going to be a good fighter. This is how you nail it. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? That's the difference. So
Yeah,
good deal.
absolutely.
But yeah, I mean that's all that there is to say about it, because this fight was over and done with very quickly.
And no, what I wanted to actually, there's one last thing. When
Sure.
they were announcing the scorecards, did you watch Austin Lane?
No, you did. What did he do?
He just looked right in the camera with like the most blank expression, just like sad as hell, like for the entirety of the read. So like they have the camera on, and he's just like,
I mean, yeah, it sucks, bro. I don't know what to
yeah.
tell you on that one. That's kind of how it goes. Yeah, I mean, in Austin Lane, dude, like again, bro, Austin Lane is in the position that you have to change your narrative very quickly now, brother, because you are becoming the person that we know is the tee up fighter. If you don't change that, I mean, I'd be surprised if they keep him around either way, because I would think that at this point, like, it has become apparent that there's really not much more for him. But if you get one more fight, you need to make that your fight or bust. Like, there is no two ways about it, dude. You have to win this next fight. If not, see you later.
I hate when guys like Austin Lane are on their way out of the UFC because in the era that we're in of combat sports, I mean, I can only imagine where he's gonna go from here. Like I just feel bad thinking, oh, he's gonna go to bare knuckle and get destroyed. Like fuck. Like,
Go over to Karate Combat and get teed up with a janitor.
yeah, but I was think that was my first thought. It's like, oh, they could just do the rematch. They can do him and he fought Rebellis, right? It was Rebellis. Anyway, I don't remember.
I think
Maybe he
so.
did, maybe not. Austin Lane Karate Combat is fine. That's a decent one, but out of all the other options, he if he went to bare knuckle, man, I'm just saying, I just don't really hope that for him.
Oh yeah, no, and that's your own career navigation to know that that's not the right place for you.
True.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens to Austin Lane, but Ivo Baranchevsky, definitely the guy that everybody's watching out for now. So
Absolutely.
new blood at light heavyweight. I love it. All right. Next up, we got to talk about it. This is the fight that everybody's been talking about. This is Michael Venom Page versus Sam Patterson. I said everybody hates MVP now, lol, which I mean, I know a lot of people already hated MVP, but golly, does everybody hate him now? You often say, Chase, Thinker's not as active on Twitter. This was one where I did a little bit of looking around on Twitter to see what the community sentiment was after this fight. And goddamn, do people hate MVP after this one? Sam Patterson somehow walking away unscathed after his performance, which I think is a little questionable. But really, the impetus is on MVP. He's the more experienced fighter. He's the guy who was the big name. He was the one that the crowd was popping for in the hometown, even though both these guys are English. I thought that was funny. And this turned out to be a pretty solid dance off between the two of these gentlemen.
This fight was horrible, yes, and I agree. Everybody was telling me beforehand MVP is boring, and you should not be praising an MVP performance because even before this, I was saying an MVP fight is normally pretty fun from my perspective. And Sam Patterson, shout out to him. You are right that he's kind of skating away on this one, and everybody's blaming MVP. But for the most part, everybody was saying that MVP was running. MVP says Sam Patterson was running. It kind of was a mixture of both. At every time Sam Patterson would walk forward, MVP would walk backwards. Every time MVP would walk forward, Sam Patterson would walk backwards. It's both of their faults. Like, let's be real. It takes two to tango. You have two dudes who total strike one through landed 12 significant strikes. The other one landed 27. And these are two strikers in 15 minutes of fight. Nothing happened in this fight that is even worth winning a round. I don't know how we didn't see 9-9 scoring for these. I'm not going to lie.
Fair. I mean, yeah, I could definitely agree with that. I think that MVP, I think that he utilizes this lack of lack of output effectively at times, and obviously previously in his career he used it very effectively. So I am okay sometimes with how he navigates his fights. And the reason for that is because I am very sick of the narrative of running in general in fights. What I have gotten to, and I've been formulating this thought based on previous conversations of ours and how I view fighting in general. What do you fight inside of, Chase, when you are in the UFC? Fight inside
Uh,
of a cage, right?
it's an octagon.
It's an octagon, and the walls of that octagon are
Yes.
a cage. Yeah. That is an enclosure, correct? Right? The cage keeps people inside of it. That is your space to operate and to win a fight within. If your opponent is not engaging you the way that you want them to engage you, your job is to go get them. Go find the win. Go get that person to make something happen that you want to happen. That's how I look at this when it comes to running in general.
What
So
if both opponents have that mindset?
well, and that's kind of what I was leading to, is that it's you don't get a pass for what I'm saying here when you also are not doing the engagement that you need to be doing. So it's like that's why I do think that MVP won this fight in the big picture, because on the watch along, I was saying there's a case based on what we are seeing in this fight for Sam Patterson to have been winning this fight because nothing was happening on either side. So it's like, how are you deciding who is getting the better of anything? On the rewatch, I think MVP did enough to win the fight based on what this fight was. Now, I'm not saying that was great. Certainly do agree with the general community sentiment and with the crowds in the audience, because like you were saying, Chase, the crowd in the audience at the O2 Arena was not very active throughout most of this card. When they were watching this fight, they were very noticeable, and that takes a lot from that type of an audience to become noticeable. So this turned out to be a very frustrating fight for the fans. Certainly a frustrating fight, I would suspect, for each fighter in this fight. Certainly for the fans in the arena. And when you are playing, again, handshake agreements when it comes to fights. If your opponent is going to run and you are going to run, there's that clip. I think it got posted in the Discord. I think it might have been CTE, yet again, CTE who posted it. But it was just the two of them sort of shadow dancing in front of each other. That is basically a summation of all of this fight. And when you are going to have the handshake agreement that no one's engaging, this is what you get out of it. So I can't really be too mad at either one of them, but I can be mad at both of them equally.
I was I was watching a clip of Joey Diaz, right? And he was on the Joe Rogan podcast watching this fight. And Brendan Schaub was also there. And he, in the midst of Joey Diaz doing a spiel or whatever, Brendan Schaub said, "This is why you don't have teammates fight each other." What do you think of that little comment right there? Do you think that has anything to do with them potentially having a boring fight, as them being teammates?
No, I would say no. I mean, I don't know how close of teammates they are. I know that they mentioned on commentary that they had trained at some point together in the past. That to me doesn't scream yeah, we're the closest of bonds. This is not Marab and Aljo we're talking about here. No, what this seemed like to me is actually a shout out to Hydra. Hydra is here. On the watch along, Hydra had said Sam Patterson at some point in an interview before this fight said, "I'm not going to fall for the game that MVP plays. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to get find the win, etc." He fell for the exact game, and this is the game that they were playing together. This was an agreement here. That's more. So I don't know. Do you disagree? Do you think that it's a teammate thing is more in play here? Because it seems to me that it was a fundamental lack of navigation with what you exactly knew what was going to happen. That's what's frustrating to me.
Yeah, I don't think Brennan Schaub is correct. I think we have seen plenty of times people who have trained together who have been teammates, and I think it makes for a very dynamic fight. We see a lot of different tricks pulled out kind of deal. Hell, I saw Bruno Silva fucking knock out Cody Durden. I'm pretty sure they trained together at one point or some shit like that. So
Best example I can think of is Volkov
Pavlovich.
versus Pavlovich. Thank you. Yes, Volkov versus Pavlovich. That actually turned out to be a fight where the teammate aspect played a part in how they were navigating the fight in an effectively entertaining way, or in a compelling way, I guess is a better way to say it. So yeah, I mean, come on, man. If that's what they want to fall back on, then okay, but you ain't getting out of the criticism of this fight,
True. No, this one was horrible, and I know Dana. I know Dana's pissed about this one. Gotta be.
Certainly got to be pissed in the sense that, I remember that was another comment that was made on the watch along is, oh, MVP talking about why am I not getting ranked opponents, whatever. You go and you win these kinds of fights. It certainly does not compel anybody to put you in those positions. But what I would say as a counter to that, give him the top of the division and let them get him the fuck out of here. If this is how everybody's feeling about him at this point, again, it is your job to to take the puzzle as it is presented to you and figure out the way to solve it. MVP is a puzzle to a lot of guys. There is somebody in this division that is going either of the divisions. He fights at middleweight as well. One of these divisions, somebody's going to be able to figure this puzzle out. Give him that guy and have this puzzle completed already. Solve the puzzle.
Yeah, this fight was just unfortunate. I feel bad because Sam Patterson had a lot of hype in my opinion. I mean, coming off of 4 straight finishers or whatever it was. I mean, that's a pretty good run.
One of my stock raisers of the year for last year, Sam Patterson. I was under the radar. This is what I said on the last episode. I was saying that it hurts that MVP was going to win this fight because I think that there is better for Sam Patterson in the big picture. This certainly does not help you in that regard. You could have gone out there and made even if you lost this fight, if you had brought the fight to MVP in a legitimate way, you still at least could have gotten the salvaging stock raise off of men. You tried your hardest and you just came up short. This does not do anything for you in a positive light.
I remember I felt bad for the casual people who told me that they watched Max Holloway and Charles Oliveira and they were disappointed. I'm glad that this did not come across the casual eyes because this is just not what the UFC should be represented by.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that's the unfortunate thing again about the London cards in general is that there were enough standout moments on this card to make it of value. And I had a great time watching it. We had a really fun time on the watch along. So I was happy with that. But fights like this are the ones that stick out as the sore thumbs on cards like this, where it's man, London just gets screwed on some of these fights. And this is definitely one of them.
100%. Yeah, no, this fight, man, whatever.
The only other last real little minor thing I wanted to ask you based on Sanjay in the chat asking any potential of fixing on this fight, you think that the two of them maybe handshake agreement here?
Former teammates, I mean, I guess you could never really count it out how far teammates actually goes, quote unquote, but no fucking way could you have planned it to be this bad.
That would be my answer too. Is it's if you were going to fix a fight and it was going to be an actual agreement between the two of them, there should be a better game plan than we're going to stand in front of each other and have the worst fight of all time.
True, 100%.
So, all right. Well, then let's quit talking about it. Let's talk about this fight instead here, dude. This is Luke Riley versus Michael Aswell. Of course, what we said about this one is the Iron Chin of Texas versus the Liverpool striking machine. And sadly, that's exactly what we got out of this fight. Sadly for Michael Aswell, because I thought Luke Riley looked pretty good in this fight. Nothing again, it reminded me a lot of the Lucini Kaita versus Nathaniel Wood fight. Nothing that really like stood out as like, man, this is the thing to latch onto from either of these guys. But this was a better version of that fight, I thought. As well as definitely still somebody I'm a fan of, but you could definitely see some of the holes in the game as far as the cardio and just not being able to keep up as far as the output of the striking goes.
I think it's just, this fight, one long round kind of thing that we had
Sure.
going here. The unfortunate thing is I think Michael Aswell kept it a lot closer than people would give him credit for. 30-27, and it's not like he got smoked. I mean, each round was pretty close on the striking, I would say. I mean, it was even to the point where at the end I was thinking like, I mean, they could give him a round. I mean, at least one kind of deal. And either one of the one or two kind of deal. Luke Riley is very good. He showed off a lot of, diverse striking, very, very technical striking, but also very creative at the same time. The problem is they gave him an opponent who just shows no impact, no damage. I mean, you punch this dude, Michael Aswell, and his head doesn't even move. I mean, it's not necessarily a skill, it's more or less genetics at the end of the day. I mean, this dude was just gifted the ability to just get punched in the face, and there's no snap with his neck. His face doesn't turn. The punches just roll right off of his chin, and he just moves forward. And it's unfortunate because Luke Riley, again, showed a lot of great striking, but when you go up against somebody who's just not being affected by it, it looks as if you're doing nothing. It looks as if you're pillow fisted. But I can tell you, this dude was throwing everything but the kitchen sink at Michael Aswell. He was just able to just eat everything. There was times where he was getting stopped in his tracks with the punches, but he just has this ability to just not show any sort of fear in the striking. But I think Luke Riley, with the level of striking that he has, I think he probably is going to rack up a finish or two after this. It is a little concerning that he didn't do anything sort of with the takedowns, with control, didn't even try to grapple, not one bit. But why would you if you're going to win on the feet? But in my opinion, it was a lot closer on the feet than I feel like maybe only striking wouldn't, was kind of going to do for you. But it is in London. Luke Riley he's actually fine. I actually decently dig his personality. Other than we've talked about this before, other than people saying that he looks like Walt Jr. from Breaking Bad, he does have a decent personality. When he got on the mic, Bisping was trying to talk him up about the performance. I'm a big fan of not being delusional. There's times and places for it, but he wasn't excited. He wasn't happy with his performance. He's hard on himself. And coming from somebody who's also hard on himself, he knows that there's better there, and that's what's key. He's gonna get better. If he would have came out there and talked about how great of a performance that he had, he felt great, this and that, it'd be a little concerning. But I mean, would it? I mean, it was a good performance. But even though a good performance, and on top of it, still thinking that you could do better, just icing on top, I would say. Same thing with
Yeah.
Delgado back
I,
last
I
week.
was. That's funny that you say. I was literally just going to bring that up. I was like, yeah, very similar to Delgado in that way for sure. No, and I also agree with you when you're saying that, like, 30-27. This is one of those fights where it's unfortunate because I thought Aswell did look good in this fight. He's tough, he's durable, he's just not as fast or as clean with his striking as Riley eventually ended up being in the long term. Because this really was, an extension of all of that. Yeah.
The thing that I wanted to ask, it kind of goes to Lachlan's point. Luke's got to shave the mop hair. Every jab he got hit would look like he's damaging. That is a key point. You can't have long hair. We've talked about this before. Also with Luke Riley, he's made me question: does posture not exist in Liverpool? Him and Patty for sure are just like sunken into their shoulders like a gremlin. Like it's kind of crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, I didn't necessarily notice that like off rip, but when you say it now, thinking back, I could see that, and also, yeah, that was I was also going to mention the Lachlan comment there because I'm like, Patty has found someone in the UK who can braid his hair. Surely Luke Riley can do the same. I mean, if he has enough hair to braid it, I would say you got to do something with that hair.
I'll tell you the problem of why he doesn't. Luke Riley, and you can tell if you know hair, Luke Riley has his hair over his forehead because he's got a really big forehead. It looks as if it's kind of receded a little bit, and the long hair is just kind of swooped down over. So if he braided, he knows it's going to look bad. And then if he cuts it, he obviously doesn't have the hair to, do the swoop. But again, we go back to it shows impact. If you get punched in the head and your hair goes flying, you look like you got punched really fucking hard, dude. Like, I don't
Bro,
know.
well, if that's the case, and I've known plenty of people in that exact situation with the Schwip because the hair is starting to go a little bit,
Yeah.
brother, you are a professional fighter. Shave it off, dude. Go full bald, bro. It's a hard look. Women dig the bald.
It's crazy too because Luke Riley, at first, when I first saw him, he's got the long hair, clean shave, cool. But when he came into this fight, even in the promos, he could grow a beard. You could literally, like, he literally has a beard genes coming, growing. Just go bald, dude. You'll be fine. And
Oh,
you'll be a better athlete because of it.
yeah,
Just
for
saying.
sure. Absolutely. And, I mean, and really, we're talking about a couple of these UK guys now. I mean, Curtis Campbell in the same boat, basically. He knew enough to put it up in the bun. You can't have the hair flopping around. It's an optics thing. We talk how much optics play a part in this sport. I agree. I think that, the hair's got to go. And I mean, I guess it's just the style in Liverpool is to have this shaggy sort of, Beatles hair. I mean, Beatles from Liverpool too, I suppose. I guess it makes sense, right? But like, it's 2026, guys. I mean, style has evolved a little bit. Even in Liverpool, I would think that style has evolved a little bit. So get with it.
Yeah, absolutely. But shout out to him. Very good performance. I was hoping to see some grappling, but the striking was definitely on top of it. Going against another striker and, somebody who's UFC experienced by now, Luke Riley definitely stood toe to toe with him and won very
Yeah,
easily.
yeah, for sure, yeah, absolutely, and as well, the only other real note that I had was that shout out to Jeremy Hall, another person who's not here tonight, but Jeremy Hall had said on the watch
Jeremy Hall
long,
is here tonight.
is he here tonight? Oh, I apologize, sorry, Jeremy.
Jesus
Jeez,
fucking
I
Christ.
hasn't been in the chat for a while. He's just chilling, listening. But he made a good observation on the watch along, saying that as well attacks and stays on the center line a little too much. That would be a note that I would have for him going forward. Is that it's the cardio and that if you could improve both of those things, cardio is going to be a little bit more tricky, I would suspect. But that specifically, that's an easy fix. I mean, just a little bit more dynamism when it comes to your movement, a little bit better head movement, those kinds of things. Easy to fix that one. Cardio, maybe work on that somehow, some way. But those are things that'll help him out in the big picture. And then hopefully him being able to put on a little bit of knockout power himself. I mean, if he is that good of a chin, I don't know how you increase that knockout power, but him and Nathaniel Wood need to get put into the Captain America Super Serum program. Get these guys a little bit more power in the hands. They could absolutely be killers. And yes, I see you, Jeremy. I apologize for not knowing that you were here.
Absolutely. Yeah. Shout out Jeremy Hall. For him forgetting about you is criminal, but I
It
didn't.
was.
Don't worry.
It was, yes. That's why Chase is here to remember these things.
Absolutely.
So yeah, no, but good, yeah, good win for Luke Riley for sure.
Yes, absolutely. 100%. I like this one.
All right. Well, that brings us to the main event of the evening, and we've got to talk about this one in depth because I mean, this is kind of crazy. This is Movsar Evloev versus Lerone Murphy. First and foremost, just to get it out of the way, Mr. Movsar coming in as Mr. Prove-A-Point in this fight. We've talked about how that is always something that is off-putting, only from the sense that if you are going to be Mr. Prove-A-Point, then you need to go out and do it definitively. There has to be no question in the world that you are doing the right thing by not fighting with the things that you are good at and choosing to fight in a different style. That all said, he did win the fight, even with a point deduction. So there's a lot to unpack here, Chase. What do you got to say about this?
Mosvar did win the fight. And what I will say is this fight was not action packed. It is not like we are judging the most star studded event of all time when it came to this matchup. It was a lot of splitting hairs, I would definitely say. When it came to the rounds, a lot of them were close. But the thing that I will say is in the moment, when the point deduction happened, I remember because I had said that Mosvar was going to win this matchup, but when I was watching the fight, my heart was what I was seeing was definitely leaning towards Lerone. And when the point deduction came, I immediately was in a fuss that I mean the fight's over. I mean
Right.
they
Yeah.
just ruined the main event. I mean it not ruined in a sense, but you take a point right there when potentially the person's down, I mean, and not potential. I mean, in my mind, that's what it was. The fight's over now. I mean, you just took a point. He's already lost 3 rounds. I mean, what can you do? And to find out when the scorecards come that it was the complete opposite of what I believed. This, and I'm not kidding, chat. I'm not kidding. And if anybody is out there who's able to help me with this and get me back to the correct universe, I witnessed the judges take me into the alternate timeline when they read off these scores. Because when I heard the scores, I was like, that sounds right. There we go. 48-46, 48-46, 47-47. Fine. Movsar. And my mind just exploded when I heard Movsar because it did not comprehend like how it was even possible at the moment. And people want to tell that it's like, oh, I don't know what I'm watching. Oh, I'm biased because I'm listening to this, or I wanted this to win. It's like guys, I genuinely had shock come across me when I found out who won this fight. And I wanted Movsar. I said Movsar was gonna win, but I had genuinely just watched him lose 3 rounds, get a point taken, and then win the fight up to like I
Right.
don't know.
And also had to catch yourself there to saying I wanted Movsar to win. No, I didn't want Movsar to win necessarily, knowing what you know about Movsar's style. He didn't use that style here, so it's even more surprising that he won this fight. Yeah, I mean, really, this is like such an odd circumstance because watching this thing back now, in the moment, I'm talking to chat. I'm paying attention as much as I can, but there's a lot going on in fights. I got my attention slightly diverted. I always say this is why I rewatch fights. So I sat and rewatched this fight with a fine tooth comb. I was locked in. I was not letting anything distract me. I was looking at this thing very analytically. This fight comes down to round 3 and how you view round 3 as to who won that round. Movsar had a definitive big moment towards the end of the round and a little bit of a flurry to finish the round that could swing the round for him. I personally am of the mindset that Murphy did the better work throughout the round before that. So really that's where it hinges to me, but that's the only thing that it should hinge this fight. So that being said, this is either 48-46 Murphy or a 47-47 draw. There is no, to me, based on what I watched in that fight, especially on the rewatch when I was keyed in, locked in as if I was a judge myself, there is no world that Movsar won more rounds than he did in this fight. I don't understand where the judges saw anything different. The only thing I could think of is that the judges were a little bit in awe of the idea of Movsar Evloev striking when they know that he is a grappler. That has nothing to do with fucking anything. This guy striking was not it. I mean, throughout the entirety, you go back on the watch along, I'm sitting here, I'm like, why is he doing this? Why is he engaging in this way? He himself on his stool, his corner is saying, it's time for the takedown, brother. You can go and take him down anytime. And he says, oh, one more round.
Dude,
Fucking why?
that made me so, and that's another reason why, like when I went back, when I was watching it, and I'm like, he got out the second round, and the coach is like, all right, you got to start wrestling, man. You got to get into it. And he's like, I give him a couple more rounds, and it's a couple more. It's already the second. What are you talking about? So like in my mind, he's already lost. He lost those 2. Like he's already gave up his game to play Larone's. Larone is winning on the feet. You're not going to sit here and tell me that Mosvar is just some champion fucking level, god on the feet now. Like Larone played his game, never got taken out of it. Every time he got taken down later in the fight, he got back up to the point where he was winning the fight, where the fight was being won by him. I just don't get it, honestly. I don't know.
And that's where, like, because I'm seeing the chat, chat saying, oh, that third round, I gave it to Movsar, he did enough for this and that. That's fine. That's fine if you did that, but that still equals up to a draw. So this is what I mean. Like, I don't understand where it really is very mind boggling. I saw your reaction to it. You posted the clip in the Discord. I was like, that tracks. I mean, everybody was looking at this thing. I think you said something else that was very poignant in the Discord as well. You're like, they did this to Lerone Murphy in England, and everybody was like somehow okay with it, which was very strange. I mean, like, it just seemed like when you talk about like the Twilight Zone, that is certainly where this fight felt like it was taking place.
Dude, because it's not only just the score, it's not even, bro, the crowd didn't give a shit after. That's what made me so mad. They didn't boo once. They didn't have any questions. You know what was even more crazy is when Lerone got to his post-fight speech. Even when they were reading out the scorecards, it wasn't the post-fight speech, excuse me. It was when they were reading out the scorecards. Even he was like, "Yep, he did it. He got me." And I'm like sitting here thinking, like, how do you not think that you won? Like, I know
He
obviously
finally did after the fact, right? I mean, he came
right
out on Twitter after
when
watching it back, but
when he rewatched it, but like
yeah.
in the moment, I'm sitting here thinking like, how did you even like? How were you also fooled just like everybody else in the crowd? Like, The crowd didn't give a shit. Even Mosvar got on in his post-fight speech, this time correct. He said, fucking, I thank you, London. I appreciate everybody for being so nice to me. It's like, bro, you just fucking robbed their whole fucking, like, yeah, they're so nice to him. It's crazy because we're not even in a real realm anymore, And shout out Toby. Maybe it wasn't Toby, but somebody said, he hasn't left England yet. Don't worry. So hopefully they get to him. But either way, it's just absolutely crazy to me that Lerone got robbed here. I don't understand what happened here. I'm so upset for Lerone because he got injured in the fight and still pulled through to the bell, putting on close enough performances where even then it's like people are telling me that like if I remember saying if you thought Mosvar lost 4 and 5, go rewatch it. And it's like, did anything really even crazy? I mean, he took him down and Lerone popped right back to his feet every single time. There was nothing that Mosvar was doing other than wasting clock, when it came to
Well,
takedowns.
I'll take a little issue with that. I mean, Movsar did turn up in those rounds enough to definitively swing them, in my opinion. But like you said, I mean, this is an injured Lerone Murphy at that point. I believe it was in the fourth round that he popped the hip
At the end
flexor,
of the third.
or the end of the going into the fourth round. I should have said
Yes.
to you. But so yeah, I mean, so it's like this like again. You can view all of what Movsar did in context and say that there were moments that made sense for him to win rounds, but to think that he definitively won this fight, especially with the point deduction, rightful point deduction too. I mean, that's I think something that gets a little bit overlooked in this conversation is shout out to Goddard for doing the right thing in this fight. I mean, like that it was a secondary foul. It should have gotten it, and I've heard people saying that the first was not a flush. It hit the cup. It did hit the cup. So anyway, yeah.
I the low blows were definitely an issue. I find issue, to be fair, with the fact that the point was taken so early. I find issue that after
It
the
was a second
second,
foul.
it was, but the thing is when that foul, when the second one happened, Lerone was dipping down, and they were in opposite stances. Like he went for a thigh kick, and he just happened. Listen, Lerone's packing, guys. I hate to break it to you. This is
All
all that what the
right.
case may be, and I'm not even trying to argue for Mosvar, but like, I don't think he was trying to kick bro in the dick.
Well, fair enough, but I mean, I was okay with it. I thought that it was, if it happens a second time, that is when you were supposed to take it. If it does, if you're not going to take it, then when are you going to take it? I thought that it was appropriate personally. But either way, the point is that it had, regardless, it happened. It happened. This is what happened in the fight. The dynamics again, like I said, this is the twilight zone here. It was very crazy to hear what we heard out of this, see what we had just seen, and for this to be the outcome. I don't know how this goes down this way, and I mean the bigger picture. Shout out to Lachlan saying earlier, he was like, how many times out of 100 does Volk beat both of these guys? That's the bigger takeaway to me at the end of the day, is that after seeing what we saw in this fight, if Mofsar thought that this was the proving of the point that he was getting across, brother, I have another thing to tell you when it comes to what you're going to be encountering against Alexander Volkanovski, even at his advanced age. Nothing that I saw in this fight from either of these gentlemen, but most especially from Movsar, is going to be anything that I'd be too concerned with Volk with if he is going to play this game for a second time. If he goes back to what he normally does well, maybe it's a different story.
I feel bad for Lerone because I think a lot of people, even there, like there should be no doubt about this guy's skill right now. I mean, talking about beating Volk is one thing, sure, but like Lerone Murphy genuinely has some of the best, takedown defense. Obviously not the takedown defense, but the get up game, because he got taken down 9 times by Mosfar, and he got up every single time. Every single time he was right back to his feet with an injured hip too, mind you. He
Right.
was able to still continue to get those. And then when you talk about his striking, he is a counter striker. He plays the outside, but he is still very, very skilled. I think Lerone Murphy, in my opinion, I have been high on him before. I think he is somebody that is somebody to have fans. He's worth having fans, I would say. But this is an okay loss to have. When it came to Ian Gary and Shavkat, it's an okay loss to have. When it came to Brandon Royval and Tatsuro Taira, it's an okay loss to have.
Oh yeah, no. It's an okay loss to have in that perspective. It's not an okay loss to have because it was a robbery, and it's not an
Right.
okay loss to have because it was a title eliminator. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? That's why this is such a big deal. If this had taken place like earlier in both of their careers, this would have been fine. There were a lot of implications on the line for this. So yeah, I mean, it's just really an unfortunate situation all around.
This comment right here. So Tyler Betts, I'm shout out you for being here. I'm glad that you brought this up because not many people seem to be bringing it up. Facts meet Rocket plus he won round one on damage, the body kicks, and the teeps that clearly made Lerone rat. There was one specific front kick that Lerone like
He went,
clearly,
yeah, way back. Yeah.
yeah, he clearly was hurting a little bit from it, but obviously didn't really matter. But I will agree with somebody who, and this is the problem. Normally, if you're going to have an argument to why somebody wins, if you bring up the points that I would agree would win somebody the round, case closed, you got it. If anybody out there would say, man, there have been a few, and I kind of agree with them. Mosvar won by damage because that kick was the most damaging shot out of a very slow, slugged kind of round. There wasn't much going on. I would hesitantly agree with you, but at least you brought up something that I could say happened. I do remember him kicking him in the stomach, and it looked like it hurt Lerone more than anything had up until that point. Not to say he was hurt, not to say it was anything, but it just caught him right in the breadbasket, and he was locked in for the rest of the fight when it came to the body shots kind of
Well,
deal.
and also I thought he was locked in for the rest of that round. Again, I was watching the round for the fine tooth comb. I was watching the whole fight with a fine tooth comb. I say Movsar. I in the moment, and that's another thing too. In the moment, when I was on the watch along, I thought that Movsar won the first round. I had said that I was like, oh, Movsar coming in with the round one, this is going to make a big difference later on in the fight. I thought it was a feel out round. Did not know that Movsar had the plan that he had, so I didn't know what the rest of the fight was going to look like. Upon the rewatch, I gave it to Lerone. So I don't. I'm just saying.
I think round three, you made the best point also, is because at the end of the round, when that flurry came, I remember I was questioning. He might have stole it. He might have got it. But the problem is I didn't say yes. He got it. He got it. He stole it. He
And
might have. He
Lerone hit the
potentially.
spin. Yeah, yeah. And Lerone hit the spin kick earlier in that round too. By the way, that's what I'm saying. Like everybody, look, recency bias for the end of the round being what you take away at the end of that. But if you go back through that round, there was good work coming from Lerone earlier in the round that I thought was the better of the two.
The first takedown that Mosvar landed was because Lerone landed such a big knee right to his body that, obviously he had to catch him. So I think Lerone obviously was doing most of the better work throughout the majority of the fight. Mosvar didn't have big moments per se. And in a game where, yeah, big moments can sway an entire round, you're not going to tell me Mosvar just fucking beat Lerone on the feet. I'm just not like, it's not what I watched. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and this is coming from two guys here, both of us, who both picked Movsar to win this fight, but I mean, at least I think I can speak for both of us when I say didn't want it to be this way. You know what I mean? Didn't want it to be under these circumstances, and definitely did not expect it to be with the game plan that he had here. So, yeah.
It's sometimes things happen that you're not going to be able to let the record tell you. When it goes to Max and the BMF belt, Ilya beat him while he had that belt, guys. You can't tell me that Max is the BMF. Charles is now obviously, but at the time,
Right.
Ilya took that fucking belt off him. I don't care if it wasn't on the table. He beat him. The belt is now Ilya's. Anyway, when it comes to this, I witnessed, go back to Volk and Islam. I witnessed Volk win. I've watched it so many different times, and I can tell you every round that I swear to you, Volk won. And it was more than the ones that Islam did. He, in my opinion, became double champ, and that's the alternate timeline I never got to live through. This one right here, I watched Lerone beat Mosvar, but I was told differently. That's just another timeline I've never got to enter. Lerone is undefeated still somewhere out there, for
Yeah, no,
sure.
you're absolutely right. I mean, and this is one of those things that like MMA on Point. Shout out to them, of course, they do great work. But they posted recently talking about how the Volkov robbery with Cyril Gahn changed the entire trajectory there. The Paddy Pimblett versus Jared Gordon fight. These have major implications going on down the line. So again, butterfly effect. You're going to see how this down the line is going to affect both of these guys. And I really just hope that this does not define Lerone Murphy. I would suspect it will not. But my point is, it's just that like this now is a setback for Lerone when he could have been on a different trajectory, and that's unfortunate.
So here's an interesting idea, and I'm not saying this is what happened, but when I put it in a way that, now that I think about it, maybe this is okay. So Nav commented a little bit ago. It's London Gate. The judge was told round three he hurt his hip, so they made the cards. So they changed the cards. So what would you think about this? Obviously, if Lerone is hurt, then we don't get a title fight. If Mosvar wins, then we get a title fight potentially with Volkanovski. But it would seemingly be all the rounds that I would say Lerone won that gave to Mosvar. So did they just erase the fucking names and switch them, or what? What's going on here?
It's like we say, dude, we're in a brave new world. The Wild West is even wilder than it's ever been. So I guess anything could happen, or could be the case, but I would suspect not. I don't, I'm always one of those people that wants to believe the best in the sport and then am constantly proven otherwise. So, show me proof and I'll believe it. But yeah, I don't know.
Absolutely. Yeah, I hear you.
Either way, so I mean, I guess just to end this little part of this conversation, unless there's anything more to say, Volk versus Movsar now. I mean, I guess it has to be right.
I hate to break it to you. I know you're not on Twitter too much. It unfortunately, and this might be a shocker to you. It unfortunately may be possible that Jean Silva is going to get the title
And
shot.
I knew you were going to bring this up.
Mhm.
If Jean Silva gets a title shot off of what we have now seen his record to be and his output to be, this would be one of the worst instances of hot shotting that I could ever imagine. I mean, no, it's not even really hot shotting in the traditional sense, but it is certainly Dana White privilege at the very least. You cannot have the circumstances of Jean Silva and then get a title shot off of barking and autism. I will not accept this. So I do not like this narrative, and I'm not feeding into this narrative. Jean Silva does not deserve a title shot based on where he is at currently and his current record and all of what has happened recently with him. Do not give Jean Silva a title shot. It is a slap in the face to the division, and Volk deserves better.
I definitely agree. You know what? Volk deserves better. I would say if we want to hot shot people, give him Kevin Vallejos, man. He's ranked
It,
now. Fuck it.
it has to be Movsar. Come on, dude. I know that it's all of what we just said. We just talked it through, Chase. I'm with you on the viewpoint of this fight. But if it is what it is, if this is the timeline that we are living in, it has to be Movsar. And Movsar himself said, there are no excuses for me not getting this title shot. Okay, well, Movsar, then you actually have to show up and fight that fight. So that's the only thing that you could possibly hang your hat on, is that if Movsar is as inactive as you were saying last episode, maybe there's no fight off of that. But if he's saying he wants this fight, show up and fight it. It's got to be him.
It'll be interesting to see how it goes, man. I would hope it's Mosvar because he is the rightful. Even Lerone, class act. Give Mosvar the title shot. He's earned it. So
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. And Lerone will come back. Lerone will this is not the crazy career setback.
Chat said it boast. Chat said it best. Hydra, I believe Lerone can come back. He came back from being shot. There you go.
That's the biggest of facts. That is very, very true. So, yeah, it is what it is as far as the decision goes. Movsar versus Volk, book it, get it out of the way, and we'll see what happens at that point. Lerone will be back, better than ever, I'm sure, and we put all of this unfortunateness behind us, perhaps, but we will
Yeah,
not forget. We never forget.
absolutely. 10-0 in the UFC. I mean, that's pretty good.
Indeed. So, having talked it all through, Chase, what are your final thoughts on UFC Fight Night, Evloev versus Murphy?
I cannot believe that this is the second London event that has just not been that good. Like, it's because in the Discord, in the MMA Hive, we have some Aussies and we have some English people, and they bicker at each other who has the worst cards of all time. Guys, you guys are sitting in the same fucking boat. You guys both have not that great stuff going on. England has more named people that you would know, yeah, but they also underperform and they don't fucking look good. So I don't know what's going on here.
Well, I mean, that's the English performances, perhaps. But what I at least will say for this card is, compared to the earlier London card from a couple of years ago, this blows it out of the water, and that is mostly because of a couple of very standout performances and then a banger fight in Jones versus Sola. So this card I thought was better than pretty much any of the other London cards recently, but there are definitely glaring holes in the card as far as entertainment value goes at times. So overall, I thought that this was a fun time. I had a good time watching this card with the chat and everything on the watch along. But yeah, you cannot say that this was a like across the board banger card by any stretch.
Absolutely.
All right. That being said, then I guess we should take a look at the upcoming UFC Fight Night. This is, of course, in Seattle, Washington. This is UFC Fight Night, Adesanya versus Pyfer. And in the main event, Israel Adesanya is coming back to fight Joe Pyfer. This is a do or die fight for Israel Adesanya, I would say, Chase.
I think this is a do for Israel Adesanya, actually. I don't think this is a die situation for him. And I know
Oh,
I've
well, hold on. I'm sorry. This
Yeah,
is my fault.
go
This is my
ahead,
fault.
introduce.
Well, no. I was going to say, we did not go over our numbers
Oh
for the
yeah.
last card. That's what I wanted to say. So yes,
Let's do that first. Yes. So Thinker, I don't know if you know, but you did very, very well on this card. So you only missed one pick, which just happened to be your favorite fighter on the card, Mr. Shamrock. So you had gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 right with one incorrect. And then I had gotten what?
weren't there 13 fights on the card?
Melissa Mullins pulled out.
No, I know that one, but wasn't there? I thought that there were 13 total. No.
Mm-mm. Nope.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right. Well,
no. Somebody said in the chat on Saturday too that you were like you had 12 fights on there. I'm like, I don't know where we got mixed up there, but either way, uh,
whatever.
yes. And then so for me, I got one right, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine correct, and then I missed three or four. Hold on, I don't know where we're mixed up here, but either way, hold on.
Yeah, hold on. I'm counting them up now too myself
Oh
here.
no, sorry. No, I just didn't add the last one on yours. So you're right. Sorry, yes, there was
Okay.
one extra on yours. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 correct. Yes, you are right. My bad. My bad. Yes, and then I missed one, two. I got four incorrect. So the totals standing for the year, I am still ahead, everybody, but Thinker might be chiseling down a little bit. I'm at 76. He's now at 63. So if anybody's keeping track, I was up 15 last week. Now I'm only up 13. So he's slowly catching up here.
And you counted the one that was missing, right?
Yes, the one.
Okay.
Yes, it is now on there. Yes, for sure.
All right. Well, so yes, I'm clawing my way back. I did pretty good that week. Happy about that. So take that information and use it to your best judgment based on the picks that we're going to be making here on this card. Sorry about the confusion there.
Yes.
All right, so back to what we were talking about here. Yes, Israel Adesanya, Joey Pyfer. You're saying that Adesanya is coming back, and this should be a due situation for him.
This is going to be a due situation. Joe Pyfer, we had literally seen him get skyrocketed into a 5-round fight, and I think it was a 5-round, or maybe it was a co-main event, something like that. He got
Gastelum, you talking about?
No, there was a 5-round.
Oh, you're talking about Jack Hermanson, yeah.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah, he did not look good. Gassed out. Did not perform where he was supposed to. Obviously, we should suspect that he's going to get better and have better cardio, but we just saw him with Kelvin Gastelum, and after he knocked him down about 4 times in the fight, he just was content on sitting on the outside and not doing anything that was active with his hands. He just threatened the right hand that he could drop him again, but he just never did. And Israel Adesanya is one of the best at evading punches. I know he has not been doing that very well, but Joe Pyfer is a different type of striker than Evloev and or DDP. Joe Pyfer is going to sit there with the right hand loaded, and Israel Adesanya is just going to dance around him and continue to just piece him up from the outside. After the second round, the threat is going to be a little bit out of it's going to be out of there. Israel Adesanya is going to chew up the legs. Joe Pyfer is not going to be able to walk as well. He's not going to be able to stand on that front foot to throw these power shots. I totally see Izzy just making this easy. I mean, people want to talk about Joe Pyfer's power. Sure. Israel Adesanya was willing to go stand in there with Alex Pereira so many different times. And that's before we actually knew that this dude was like going to kill everybody with a punch. But I don't think Joe Pyfer is scaring Israel Adesanya when it comes to power punches.
Yeah, no, I would be along the same line of thinking here. What I've said throughout the lead up to this fight and now as well is that Adesanya, the reason I say it's do or die is because we really are trying to find out if the old Israel Adesanya is still in there at all. That would be the only reason I would think that Joe Pyfer could win this fight is if the old Izzy just is gone. And that's why this is make or break, in my opinion. We're trying to see if the resemblance to his former self can still be maintained. I want to believe that is the case. I want to believe that is still in there somewhere, and it just needs to be reawakened. This is, I think, the absolute best opportunity for him to show that, because I have never been fully sold on Pyfer's all-around skill set. I think that he is good in specific ways. I think he's very good in specific ways, but they are hyper-focused, and Israel Adesanya is, to me, I mean, I've said it many times, I think he's one of the most impressive mixed martial artists that we have seen in the sport as far as versatility goes, like when he was in his prime, at least. if that version of him is still in there somewhere, there is like all of what you said tracks. I mean, him being able to navigate what Joe Pyfer brings to the table. I mean, like he's going to be faster. He's going to be more versatile with his movement. Pyfer's not going to be able to catch him the way that he needs to land power. I would suspect if he is at his prime, that's going to be the big question. So
yeah,
no,
it's the angles. That's all
right.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, exactly, absolutely, and that's what Israel Adesanya plays very well. He's able to cut those angles and to move himself into positions that he wants to get his advantages. If that version of him is still in there, then this should be his fight. If it is not in there, then yes, that this will be the time when it's like, okay, Adesanya's fundamentally changed.
So if Thinker will have to make a pick, what's it going to be?
Oh, I'm going Israel Adesanya. I certainly am. I'm
Oh,
believing it. I'm believing that it is still there. I want to believe. I'm going to believe, and but this will be the last time. That's what I'm saying is that I'm going to go with Israel Adesanya on this fight. If he loses this fight, that'll probably be the last time that I would be picking
you're
him.
not
Unless
going to. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
no, that's it.
Continue.
No, that just I was just saying unless the competition is way lower,
I,
way lower than Joey.
what I was going to say is you're not going to jump off the ship before it sinks. You're gonna wait until 0-3 finished, and on this little run here.
This is one of the most dominant champions that we have seen at middleweight of all time. This is a person, think about his fellow African king, Kamaru Usman. Kamaru Usman ran into a couple of little problems here and there, different circumstances to be sure, but we have seen great things out of Kamaru Usman in his later years. And someone's still talking about having another career resurgence. Adesanya's rhetoric is a little bit different, but if he wants to be having these legacy fights and the things, the fights that he finds interesting and going out there and having fun, this is a fight that you must win to make that happen. So I'm going to believe him until I can't believe him no more.
I'm just excited for this one. Izzy is not somebody that I've ever really been a big fan of, but when he's coming to fight, I know that this is. I'm a big fan of strikers, and I know what a good striker looks like. And Izzy genuinely has something like 24-5, guys, off of mainly striking. When it comes to multiple sports, not just kickboxing, but to MMA, this dude is special. And I'm really thinking that Joe Pyfer is just your average guy with power that thinks he can knock anybody out if he lands. But if he doesn't land, I mean, what can you do,
Yeah, exactly. That's really the thought process here. I'll eat all of these words if Joe Pyfer can catch Israel Adesanya. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this is going to be one of those things. This is why this is the big test, in my opinion.
But we can just say it doesn't matter because he got finished the last two fights, so we'll be okay.
Yeah, well, and that'll be that. There are two narratives that come out of this that both make sense. Either the narrative is that the old Israel Adesanya is still in there and can still win these kinds of fights, or he's gone and Joe Pyfer wins it rightly because it was always going to happen.
Yeah, true.
So,
but no, I'm taking Izzy as well.
All right, so both of us going for Adesanya to start this thing off. In the co-main event here, we've got Alexa
You just
Grasso.
said that co-main event.
Well, I know. Well, and it really, I mean, I was going to bring it up, but I'll bring it up now. Yeah, we got Alexa Grasso. She's fighting Macy Barber. Macy Barber, who still is not fighting Erin Blanchfield.
I'm glad that you didn't forget, and I have never. Macy Barber, if I only think it's fair is if Erin didn't want to take the opportunity, give her the opportunity to fight her again. I would only accept it if Erin is not wanting to do that. But in my opinion, the UFC should have forced it. You're gonna fight each other, and if you pull out a second time, I mean, it is what it is, kind of deal. We know what the deal is, but the fact that we're getting this rematch, this is a rematch, by the way. Alexa Grasso has a unanimous decision win over Macy Barber, and we're getting this rematch rather than the one fight that we actually haven't seen yet because Macy pulled out of her main event or whatever the fuck it was. This is blasphemous because one, I don't care. Two, they're trying to give Macy Barber the route of like, oh, she's gonna beat the former champion, and it's like we already saw where with an opportunity she was. Listen, I was gonna say it in a way that makes it seem like it wasn't some sort of medical emergency kind of deal for Macy Barber, but the fact is, if she's not gonna face Erin Blanchfield ever, if they navigate past each other by the end of the career. I have things I just won't forget about a fighter. Macy Barber just did not fight Erin Blanchfield, and that's what it comes down to. She could fight Alexa Grasso. She could fight a million Alexa Grassos, just like DDP did, in that meme. Macy Barber is she's got to fight Erin. That's all that I care about this fight. I'm saying.
Well, I mean, that being said, though, this is the fight. So, I mean, what I'll say about it, I guess, is that Macy Barber, she's got a lot of issues outside of the cage that you kind of referenced there, but when she's inside of the cage, she does seem to know how to navigate a fight effectively enough to win a fight. Alexa Grasso has what it would seem to be proven over the last couple of fights that maybe the Valentina win was a little flukier than we had thought, even though I thought their second fight was very, very quality, and she had a good showing in a very competitive fight with Valentina in that fight. We've seen holes in Alexa Grasso's game now that you can't unsee, I would say. And I think everyone has seen them, including Macy Barber. I would suspect that Macy Barber has a skill set that exploits those holes, is unfortunately what I'm getting out of this matchup.
It's funny because I often don't know that rematches occur. I don't know which ones are the rematches because they happen so early in people's careers. Do they even matter? Alexa Grasso, again, unanimous decision over Macy. But I'm going to go ahead and say that I think Macy is also just about the right level of talent at this point, where Alexa Grasso, she really just hasn't done anything in her last few fights. She just stands there with her guard high. She doesn't actually use any of the grappling that we've seen. She literally submitted Valentina Shevchenko, and I have not seen her grapple once. She's now a boxer, apparently. It's crazy to me.
Well, and then we saw Valentina lay on top of her for 5 rounds in the third fight. So
True.
Obviously there's just differences that have been exploitable now, and those are becoming more and more apparent. Really, that's the fight that you can always go back to, their fight at Noche, where it kind of showcased everything now that that you could do. You don't have to do those things, but you can do them.
Mhm.
Macy Barber, I think, could probably do that, plus add the striking in there that might be dangerous in some capacity. I'm just seeing a lot of pluses on the Macy side and not enough on the Grasso side in the current era.
Yep, so we're both taking Macy on this one?
I think we have to, unfortunately. But again, we will never forget that Aaron Blanchfield is waiting in the wings, or should be waiting in the
Mhm.
wings, and needs to happen, as I agree with you on that point.
I don't care if it happens, to be fair. I just know that Erin Blanchfield deserves a title shot before her. That's realistically what the case should be. Is Macy cannot get a title shot unless Erin Blanchfield gets hers first, is what
Yeah,
I would say.
fair enough. Somebody's got to be able to beat Manon Fiorot, I would say, then, right?
True.
Yeah. Either way, but yeah, I guess we are both going for Macy on this one.
All right.
Next up, Michael Chiesa versus Nico Price. This card takes a very, very noticeable dip in quality here. Of course, this is Michael Chiesa's final fight. This is his retirement fight. He is fighting Nico Price, who, a little fun fact for you, Chase. In my most recent Yama episode, I make a joke in the beginning about the White House card being underwhelming, to the point that it's surprising it's not the love child of Cody Brundage and the women's bantamweight division, something along those lines. The fun fact is that Nico Price was almost the fighter that I referenced there as the underwhelming fighter. So, yeah, what do you think about this fight?
Well, it's kind of funny that back in February, a little over a month ago, Nico Veretennikov, not Nico, what the heck was his first name? Nicolau Veretennikov knocked out Nico Price. I don't know if you forgot about that. That literally just
I
had happened. Yeah.
yeah, no, I have not forgotten about that.
Yeah. So him being able to step into this fight is a failure on the commissions, first off. And second, it's actually I mean, should be pretty easy for him on the feet. I mean, Michael Chiesa is not going to knock him out. He's probably just going to grapple him for a little bit. But Nico Price, living up to the name of the hybrid, he could go ahead and get knocked out in 1 month, submit it in the next, and put it on his resume. So shout out him.
Well, I mean, is that what you think is going to happen, though?
Yeah, oh yeah, Michael Chiesa is gonna get a sub here. Listen, Nico Price let Robbie Lawler get a knockout on his retirement. Michael Chiesa gets a sub on his retirement against him. I mean, I'm not surprised that any of this happens. So
Yeah, all right. I mean, I'm with that. I mean, Nico Price is a pretty credentialed grappler, but like this is the problem: is that I say that, and then he loses those fares as well. So yeah, I mean, tee up Michael Chiesa for a nice retirement. I'm sure Chiesa, because of how much of a company man he is probably getting himself a video package off of this. So give him a nice win to go out on, give him a video package, and send him on his way back to the broadcast desk.
we didn't even bring you talking about video packages. We didn't even bring it up. They gave Michael Bisping a video package for the Hall of Fame, and he's been in the Hall of Fame since 20 whatever
That
something.
is so funny that you mentioned that. I said that on the watch along. for whatever, I mean, not for whatever reason, we know why. Michael Bisping is a legend of British MMA. He is a UK legend,
Mhm.
but every time that they are in England, they have to glaze the fuck out of Michael Bisping. I'm like, guys, we get it. Michael Bisping is a great of your country, but do we have to see it in such emphatic fashion every single time you are there?
Yeah, but either way, that's just pretty funny. So yeah, hopefully Michael Chiesa gets a video package. That would be really fun. I'd like that.
I mean, I don't know if they're going to or not, or just give him the full on big speech, but I would suspect that they do, considering that he's just another one of these guys that is such a company man that they kind of love him.
Well, speaking of company man, he's probably going to pull out the old Bass Root and he's going to finish this one, retire, put the gloves down, and then go button up the shirt and get in the commentary booth.
I love it. I love it. That's following the foot of greatness right there. So
Hell
yes,
yeah.
that would be perfectly fine. So yeah, I guess final verdict. We're both taking Michael Kiss on this one.
Yes, absolutely. If that's the
All right.
case.
That is the case. Well, moving on to one that might be a little bit more interesting, perhaps. Juicy J, Julian Erosa, is fighting Larian Douglas. Larian Larian, I believe is how he pronounces
I
it.
think it's Larian,
Yeah,
yeah.
Larian Douglas. He's a guy coming in off the Contender Series. I believe he got a win on the Contender Series, if
It's
I'm not
against that
mistaken.
fucking orange afro guy that he knocked out.
Yes, that's who he beat. Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
Cam Teague.
Yes. Yes. So I mean, Juicy J
36 seconds.
36 seconds. Julian Erosa is a very skilled fighter, but he has a very glaring hole in his game, which is his chin is made of paper.
Yeah, but he went 3 rounds with Melky Costa, so
That's crazy. Jesus Christ. Didn't even remember that. Holy
and
crap.
not even just a 3-round interesting fight, like, he was getting his ass whooped for those 3 rounds. How did he not go down? I don't know. That made us question if Melky was, not some sort of finisher on the feet. Obviously, with the hands, not necessarily proven yet, but then he finishes Dan Ige, so yeah.
Yeah, I
Interesting.
mean, well, you're kind of cooking. So, I mean, what becomes of Larian Douglas then?
In typical fashion, you may know best, man. You may know best, and you guys would obviously have seen it before me. I think in typical fashion of me putting all the stock in Julian Erosa's chin finally being up to snuff, he walks in here and gets a 30-second fucking flatline from Larry and Douglas. I think that's unfortunately what's possible. We don't know anything about him. That's the only unfortunate thing. We don't know who he is. We don't know anything about him. Julian Erosa is 36 years old, but from what I've seen, honestly, he's kind of a crafty kind of fighter. I really kind of dig him. So I will go with Julian Erosa with fear that he gets knocked down in 36 seconds.
Literally me to a T on that one, because what we do know about Larian Douglas is that he is 13-5 making his debut in the UFC. So obviously somebody's been able to figure it out on the regionals. Granted, he comes in, gets a really nice knockout win to get himself in there, but it is against Cam Teague, who I think we'd already seen him knocked out at one point. What?
This dude knocked out Javier Reyes.
Well, I mean, you're the one that's the tie on the Javier Reyes train, brother. That's
He's
not
still a
me.
Chad, but I mean, listen, I'm just saying, if he knocked it, oh my gosh, he's got a submission loss to Shepe Mariscal back in 2017. Okay, either way.
I'm saying these are speaking heavy to what I'm saying here. Then, I mean, look, you're going back into the history books with guys that we know now. I mean, like, Julian Erosa is a dude who's seen it all. I got to imagine that he does not underestimate what he's going to be getting from this guy. A win over Cam Teague doesn't speak very loudly to me. I gotta go with what you know. Julian Erosa can win fights. He's won 31 of them in his time. I mean,
That's a fucking crazy record for just some random Julian Erosa,
bro, 44 professional fights, not including the one he's about to be in. So, I mean, this dude has seen some shit over his time. So, yeah, I got to go with Julian Erosa on this one. Larry and Douglas, come out here and prove me wrong. And like you said, there's certainly a potential. We know that Erosa is chinny. Make that the case, then now the narrative changes for you. But I got to go with Contender Series logic on this one.
All right, we are in lockstep, as Thinker would say.
And one of these is going to be a difference, people. I guarantee it. We'll be. Maybe this will be it. Well, we'll see here. This next one up is Mansour Abdul Malik versus Yusri Belgarwi, of course, the training partner of Alex Pereira.
And Rawan's favorite fighter.
And always shout out to Rwanda always.
I feel like he really impressed me in his last fight against somebody who I thought was a really good prospect that just jumped into the mix with Asmat Bekuev. He really made him look not good at all. He made him look so amateur when it came to a game plan and came to skill sets. Yusri really impressed me. But Mansoor, oh gosh, do I believe that he has the stand-up ability to actually close the distance and get Yusri down? Because Yusri actually did get taken down a few times by Bekaev, but he got right back up. I mean, the dude's decent when it comes to takedown defense, and he was able to get up from a dude who was able. Listen, a
He's tall as
very
fuck
good.
too.
That's another thing. I mean, Mansoor is. I want to say he's like some very credentialed American collegiate wrestler, but if I'm wrong about that, I mean, even still, if he was, I don't know if he's going to be able to get this dude down. This is a really tough one. I'm not going to lie. To pick right here, let me hear what you have to say.
Well, I mean, I was just going to agree with that point. I was going to say, I mean, this is really kind of an interesting matchup in the sense that generally with hot prospects, they try to save them from each other for a while to let them develop. This is two guys who are on a collision course right now at very early stages when they have both looked good. Now, what I will say is Belgari did not look great on the Contender Series. He had a couple of issues there that gave me pause, but in the organization, he proved a lot better than I was expecting out of him.
Mhm.
So yeah, this is a tough fight to call. I would say that based on what we have seen out of both of them, Mansoor is the more well-rounded of the two of them. He's the more versatile fighter, just off of the exposure that we have had to the adversity that he's had in the organization. He gives me a little bit more like to work with in my mind as to what he brings to the fight. But that being said, Yusri leans on his skill set in a way that makes him very effective. So I mean, I wish I could have given you more to go off of, but really it's just to say that this is a very tough match to call and two very skilled fighters going at it early in their careers in the UFC.
I will say that I'm gonna be bold here. I'm gonna go ahead and take both of the former Glory kickboxers because for some reason, Glory kickboxers they can develop into good mixed martial arts stand-up base. Dustin Jacoby, Alex Pereira, Israel Adesanya, and now Yusri Belgari. Let's go ahead and see if he can beat Mansoor for 3 rounds or chin him. So I'm gonna take Yusri. What are we thinking?
All right. I mean, I like the thought process. You are definitely correct about Glory Kickboxers. I mean, you want to talk about the best base for MMA outside of memeing? That I mean, you make a strong case with Glory Kickboxing being it. That being said, because of the versatility, this will be the first one that we differ on. I'm going to go with Mansoor. I'm not saying that Mansoor is necessarily going to be able to ragdoll him, but I do believe that if he uses his weight effectively, he can get him in the clinch. He might be able to get him up and down, play the up and down game for a round and a half, 2 rounds, maybe. I don't think that he's going to have 2 rounds of it, but if he can at least do it effectively enough to have Yusri thinking about it, get him off of his game, get him off of his rhythm. That would be my big thing. Is if man, one thing that we've seen out of Mansoor is that he is a decent starter. Like he will come out the gate somewhat strong. If he can get Yusri off of his rhythm early in this fight, that's going to be the decision maker. And I want to believe he can do that. I am thoroughly prepared to be wrong, though.
I'm wondering if Mansoor is going to be a super big favorite in this, like he always has been. But
Well, this
could
is
be
why,
curious.
yeah, I'm glad that we don't get the odds on this thing anymore.
I know.
Thankfully, ESPN doesn't give it to us, so we got to go purely off of our beliefs here, and that's going to be my thought process. Is that Mansoor, because I have seen more diversity out of his output, out of the types of attacks that he has, out of the bag of tricks, if you will, that is where I'm going to be placing my stock.
Hell yeah.
All right, but you're sticking with Usri.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, lock it in and chat. As you know, we are streaming to our individual channels. So you go to the channel that you think has the better takes here and you leave a like on that channel.
Yes, absolutely. And make sure you follow and be ready for Saturday when we watch the fights together because that's when the
Absolutely.
picks are going to come into play.
Absolutely. And if you were watching with me on last Saturday, you saw that goated St. James over here. The
Hell yeah.
praise that I deserved that I did not get from Chase. Don't think I didn't see that.
And pray that he did not have all of his slips relying on Shamrock.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah, Shamrock actually did lose me a parlay, so eggs on my face there. But either way, Terrence McKinney is next up here, Chase, and he is fighting Kyle Nelson, the Canadian. What are you thinking?
Kyle Nelson really he surprised me in his last fight because he did finish Matt Frivola and they did not actually end the fight. They continued the fight going on, and then Kyle Nelson unfortunately didn't look that great afterwards because I mean he thought he had won a fight. Adrenaline dump, cardio issues, whatever you want to credit it to. he looked very strong, very powerful, very confident in that first round. Terrence McKinney's the king of first rounds. Here we go. I'm locked in for Terrence McKinney not to get chinned so bad that DC's talking about how he's squinting his eyes so much in the fight. Like that's what made me. I remember back when he was fighting Chris Duncan. DC is screaming about, look at Terrence's eyes. He's squinting so hard right now. He don't even know where he's at. I'm not believing it this time. Terrence McKinney's going to get this one done, and Kyle Nelson's going to walk right into it.
That Kyle Nelson fight that you just referenced with all of the goofiness in there, I've talked about it for a while, and I wish that I had the time for it. Hopefully in the future I will. But I've talked about starting a series on Yama called MMA Touch Points, which is basically just a very quick little videos where I talk about odd things that happen in the sport that you should remember. That fight right there is certainly a candidate for that series because, good Lord, was that a weird set of circumstances that ended up with Kyle Nelson somehow getting the victory after getting the victory, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it was very weird how that all worked out. But either way, that does not play the factor here. What you said about Terrence McKinney is more to the point. This guy comes out very strong. The only thing that I will say is that Kyle Nelson does also start somewhat strong. So this could be more competitive than people are giving it credit for. And we know that McKinney is kill or be killed, much like Uros Medic. That means that you can be killed at times. I'm not thinking that Kyle Nelson is of the caliber that's going to come out as strong as McKinney. So I am also believing that Terrence McKinney wins this fight. I think he overwhelms Kyle Nelson early, gets the job done. I don't think that this sees a second round the same way that many of his fights don't.
So you're taking Kyle.
No. I'm taking Terrence.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Sorry,
Yeah,
I was actually a little distracted by this comment because I think it's a perfect thing to talk about. MMA touch points from Hydra here. MMA touch points would be a perfect original content for shorts, of course. But
sure.
then Tyler Betts here, MMA touching tips would be also very good for content.
Either way, I mean, whatever's going to get the views, brothers.
Absolutely. So yeah, no, this will be a fun one. Damn it, though, we're back to picking the same one. So
I
that's just
know.
how it goes.
Kyle Nelson does have the potential to be surprising in this circumstance. I would not be surprised if he does have the wherewithal to navigate the McKinney onslaught. So, I mean, this could be another one where I'm kicking myself here. I mean, of the Canadian fighters, I think that Kyle Nelson is one of the better current crop that we have. So, I'm not trying to say that, oh, this should be a walk in the park for McKinney. More of what I'm saying is that I think that the overwhelming nature of what McKinney brings to the equation should be enough to get the job done, but be prepared for an upset.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, moving on down to the prelims. Hey, Ignacio Bahamundes is back and he's fighting Tofik Musayev. Oh, God, I do not like this fight.
This fight is not necessarily as interesting as it seems, but I think it might be fun because Tofik, from what I know, is a striker, and Miktabek was able to expose his grappling very easily and, almost rip his fucking shoulder off. Ignacio has good grappling, but that's really only if he gets down to it. I don't think that we're going to get more of a grappling fight here. I think we're just going to have two strikers, but the thing is I think Tofik might actually surprise us a lot more because we haven't really seen what his stand up really is like. Like what is he bringing to the game? They clearly wanted him in the UFC for Azerbaijan, for the representation, of course, but he must be a decent level striker for them to have thrown him into a pay per view against Miktabek. Like there was some sort of opportunity that they saw for him to win. I don't know if I'm going to be able to believe in him on this one, but Ignacio, he kind of burned me already. I feel like I've rooted for him. He got a big win against Manuel Torres, and then now I'm still wondering like when's he gonna, now I'm wondering if he can even beat Tofik Musayev, so whatever. I don't know. I think I'm tentatively gonna say that I think Tofik Musayev is gonna shock the world, but let me hear what you have to say.
No, I mean, really, I think we're in the same basic ballpark with the thought process here. I mean, Musayev does come with, kind of I guess, somewhat counterintuitive style, being a striker from Azerbaijan. Generally that's a more wrestle heavy region of the world, but he bucks that trend. Is he going to be able to do that effectively enough against Ignacio? I'm leaning on Latin Chin on this one. I think is really where my head is at. Even though it is Bahamundes, who I had a lot of stock in, and then kind of got a little bit, like you said, I also felt burned by Ignacio, and the recent performances there. It's unfortunate because he was a guy who I was like, this could be the pride of Chile. You know what I mean? Like he could be one of those dudes putting his country on his back. That becomes a little bit more dicey when you're not able to actually execute on that. I'm gonna go with Ignacio on this fight, but if he loses this fight specifically, then yeah, then I think that much like in the main event, it's like I'm trying to see if it's still in there, if there's still the belief needs to be in there somewhere. I mean, he could just be a spotty fighter, he could be a checkerboard kind of guy, whatever. That's also acceptable, even if I don't like it. But if he does lose this fight, that's going to be one of those ones that I think fundamentally changes my view of him.
100%.
So yes, all right. So we are not in lockstep on this one.
Not on this one. Nope.
All right, sounds good to me. Moving up down the line here, Chase Hooper is fighting, and he's fighting Lance Gibson Jr. Lance Gibson Jr.
Last, he fought December 13th against December 13th, 2025 against King Green.
Oh God, this is that guy. Holy
Split
shit!
Decision loss.
Oh my, another MMA touch point right there. If you recall, Lance, I knew that's why I remembered the name. Yes, I was hesitant if that was him, but yes, if you recall, Lance Gibson Jr. did not want to be in that fight with King Green. King Green was doing everything that he always does in that fight, which is emote on this guy, making him look absolutely foolish. And the fact that this fight was a split decision was astonishingly poor. This was one of those ones where the judges were smoking substances that are banned in 50 states. Chase Hooper is going to come in here and make mincemeat of Lance Gibson Jr., I would suspect.
It's absolutely kind of criminal that they keep. I just hate seeing somebody that I know who is good, who is talented, who takes one loss, and then they give him a fucking loser to fight. Like it sucks that like Chase Hooper is getting such an easy performance here, and if he doesn't make it look easy, then it's gonna answer a lot of questions that we've had about him. But he should go in here. And I'm gonna say the submission is what he'll be able to get, because obviously Lance Gibson ain't gonna get knocked out. If the way he strikes with Bobby Green is what he's gonna do against Chase Hooper, Chase is probably just never gonna track him down. He's gonna have to get the grappling going, get him on the mat, rear naked choke, Chase Hooper right there.
I mean, it completely tracks. The thing is that King Green, who is not known for being a wrestler himself, was able to get this guy down, if I recall. So it's like, it should be a piece of cake for Chase Hooper. Yeah, I mean, this is like, what I would call that is like almost a reverse hot shotting, where it's like, a dude who is a decently touted prospect takes a loss, and then they give him a layup to kind of regain the momentum.
Yes.
That's absolutely what's happening here. I mean, this is about as easy of a fight based on what we saw. Now, I mean, look, Lance Gibson making, I guess, a somewhat, was that short notice? I want to say maybe.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So if it was short notice, could be the big lights. It could be the short notice. Maybe we see a different version of Lance Gibson, but I can't go off of possibilities. I got to go off what we know, and what we know was not great from that fight.
100%. Yeah.
So, yeah, Chase Hooper, by whatever way he wants. I think I would actually suspect he might be able to track him down based on what we saw, but we'll see. The submission certainly sounds like it should be correct.
Hell yeah.
All right. Next up is Marcin Tybura versus Tyrell Fortune. Now, you posted a tweet that was very interesting regarding Mr. Tyrell Fortune, and then I added a note past that. So you want to talk about that a little bit?
So I actually was going to confirm real quick. Yeah, so Tyrell Fortune has a recent bout. The second bout before his most recent, of course, is against an opponent who appears to be 52 years old as of right now. And this fight was just in August of 2025. Now, what I would like to also make a note is I was just quickly looking down the names of who this guy has fought, our 52-year-old. Back in 2014, he has a split decision loss to Jared Cannonier. So think about that right there. He also has a submission loss to Alexei Olenek. So he's been around the block, guys. But the point
that's
is,
a 52-year-old.
This is the 52-year-old.
Who is not this Tyrell person.
This is not Tyrell. This is just a dude that Tyrell happened to beat. But I would also like to note that there have been 31 other people to beat him. This dude's record is 55-31. He has 20 knockouts, 25 submissions. I mean, this guy genuinely a specimen. I don't even care about Tyrell. I mean, honestly, he's not even the real story.
What's this guy's name?
Tony Lopez.
Tony Lopez. Yeah, shout out to talk about love of the game, man. Tony Lopez.
Oh my gosh. He also has a loss to Sergey Spivak by submission, neck crank. That's in 2018. So interesting enough, like this dude may be the oldest person that you've ever seen compete. Yes, but he actually has been competing against top level competition for 50 years of his life, apparently. So if Tyrell was able to overcome a victory over a 50-year-old man who has been losing to top level competition, I will go ahead and say he's going to lose to Maishin Tybura. Yep, I'm going to go
Uh,
ahead.
yeah, I mean, I think it tracks. This guy, another person who is, I believe, jumping the line, right? He was not a contender series guy. Am I correct?
Correct. Yes. Yeah. This dude just hopped in here from Lights Out Extreme Fighting. He was in the
Hey,
PFL playoffs, though.
hey, shout out to Lights Out. That is bulletproof troops promotion there over there, and that's a champion that I was able to do some commentary with. So shout out to that guy. But yes, Tyrell coming in, jumping the line against Tybura, who we've seen make prospects look bad.
Mhm.
I mean, this is a guy who's been around and is actually a pretty goddamn decent fighter in the big picture, but decent is about as good as I would say it goes for him. He should be able to get this win. I mean, I don't think that look, there might be one of those kind of thought processes where okay, new blood, maybe it poses new challenges, but Tybura has seen all of the challenges.
Yeah, I again, I don't know anything about this Tyrell dude. I know that he beat a 52-year-old opponent, and that's about it. Tybura's got 12 years on that guy, so and Tybura is the guy who everybody out there is probably clowning on us for picking because like he sucks, obviously, but like he is a formidable opponent for a debutant. Like, when you go back to Antonio Tricoli, he's a tough opponent that is hard to put away at the end of the day, is what it seemed like. Tybura, in the same regard, I think is gonna be hard to put away. And he's a heavyweight that can go 3 rounds for sure.
Absolutely that. And then yeah, and the note that I had added to the point about the 52-year-old fighter is that Tyrell himself is 35 years old. So this is not exactly like a young hot prospect here. And Tybura is the guy that put down Jonathan Janice, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
come on. I mean, I think that this tracks pretty well. Yeah, Tybura is going to get the win on this. I would suspect.
Hell yeah. I love it.
So we're both going Tybura.
We're both going Tybura.
All right, sounds good to me. Casey O'Neill is back after a very long layoff, and she is fighting Gabriela Fernandez, of course, famous for her upset win over Wang Tong. What are you thinking about this fight?
This one, yeah. I love a Casey O'Neill return. Gabriela Fernandez, I mean, she does have a win over Wang Tong is kind of and Carly Judice. Wow, I forgot about that one too. And she fought Jasmine Justavicius. She lost, but it's good experience that she got against her. This one is tough. I would love to go with Casey because I feel like I like seeing her more. I feel like I'd like to see her more in the future. Gabriella, though, man, this I'll go with Casey. I'm gonna go with Casey, even though I feel like it's not necessarily the best pick, but we'll take it.
Really? All right. Well, yeah, no, Casey O'Neill is my Australian goth queen. She's got the raven hair. She looks like the exact type
Nickname
of
King, by the way.
yeah, and a shout out to her for that. She got. I mean, Casey O'Neill to be more serious. She does come from good fighting stock. I believe that her father was a fighter as well. So she grew up in this game. What?
Born in Scotland.
There you go. I mean, how about that, right? I don't know how that plays a part, but it plays a part. Either way, I mean, so Casey O'Neill, born into the game, she is a fighter at heart. This is a long layoff for her. She's coming back off of an injury. So besides the fact that she is the exact type of girl that I would be approaching at the Goth Club, I got to go with Gabrielle Fernandez on this one. Gabriela Fernandez has shown that the tenacity is there. She has shown that the acumen is there. The only real thing that you can say about Fernandez is that she is inactive. So it's like you're going from a fighter who has been out because of injury with a fighter who is out for question mark reasons. I don't know exactly why, but either way, Fernandez has shown that she's got a tremendous skill set, and I think she's a problem for almost anybody. So Casey O'Neill coming back, a little bit of ring rust, perhaps. I think that Fernandez is my pick on this one.
All right, I love it.
You're sticking with Casey O'Neill?
Yes, for sure.
All right, sounds good to me. And I'm always going to be at heart rooting for Casey O'Neill because I at heart would like to talk to her more.
Hell yeah.
All right, Navajo Sterling is up next. He is fighting Bruno Lopez. Hey, this fight. Navajo Sterling is undefeated still. Bruno Lopez is a little bit later in the game, but a guy who has been dangerous in select instances. What are you thinking?
Just got knocked out by Dustin Jacoby, by the way.
That is the other side of it, is that he is a guy who can get knocked out, and Navajo Sterling, I mean, he has knocked people out in the past, but it's just he is a dude who has not screamed next up to me based on what we have seen out of him.
I also agree with what you're saying. I don't think he's necessarily the best prospect that we've seen. Bruno Lopez, though, if he decides to do the cage clinch shit and hold out for a W like he did in his debut, fine. I think Navajo has the skills to be able to, the strength really to hold him off kind of deal and flip the position. I would hope this has got to be some sort of layup for Navajo to finally get some fucking knockout in the organization. Like, I don't think he's had one yet. And, like, goddamn, dude. Jesus.
Yeah, he got a
Three
knockout.
decisions.
Yeah, he got a knockout on the Contender Series and then has been decision merchant ever since. What I will say about this fight is that this is exactly what you're saying. Basically, like he needs to start finishing and proving that he is a level above, because what they are trying to do is give him that with this kind of a matchup. You are not going to be able to do that forever. You are not going to be able to selectively matchmake this guy for the entirety of his career. He's going to hit a wall with that. So you either have to prove that you are better than that, or you have to, or you're essentially you're just going to stall yourself. I mean, like
Mhm.
again, there's only so many times that you can set him up with favorable matchmaking to try to make him look better than he potentially is. So again, do or die, make or break, brother. Even if he wins the fight, fucking finish this fight.
So you're going Navajo?
I am going Navajo, but
Okay.
again, it's with the caveat that you got to make this fight yours, bro. Give us a reason to latch on. I remember blonde Navajo Sterling. I remember the Navajo Sterling that has the little throat tick or whatever. He's another guy that has one of those little nervous twitches that he has or whatever.
Yeah.
I remember all of these things about. I saw Navajo Sterling fight live. He was fought on UFC Tampa. I was there in the crowd. I want to believe. Make me a believer.
Yeah, and Thinker's a big believer in Tuco Tucos now because of that fight. So everybody out there, Navajo Sterling.
Yeah, my guy Tuco. Yeah, for sure. So anyway, yeah, Navajo again. Make believers out of me for me potentially Chase as well. But you're going with him too, right?
Yes.
All right, so there you go. And Bruno Lopez, go upset the world. Shock the world. Speaking of shocking the world, perhaps Ricky Simone might do that. Maybe Ricky Simone is fighting Adrian Yanez, but Ricky Simone is a guy who has looked great at times and then just does not look great at other times. He's about as down the line a checkerboard fighter as I can think of. But then on the other side, Adrian Yanez, not a guy that's really like screaming, that he's the man. So this is like this is like good matchmaking, honestly, about two guys who are not great.
What I would say about Ricky Simone is like in Terrence McKinney's case, the highs are high, the lows are really low.
Yeah.
Ricky Simone has really good highs, really high highs, really good moments. He knocked out the Basharat bro. He's beaten some good prospects. He's stopped a lot of people from walking over him. But like I feel like the losses, they haven't really been that bad. He loses, but it's not like he's getting fucking flatlined. This dude fucking beat Marab, guys. Like finished him. You know, I think this dude potentially is always possible to just pull out a performance that makes you say, I'm an idiot for doubting him. Cause like he really does pull out good performances. Like he's a competent fighter, he's very tough, and he always seems to work towards a game plan, is what I would say about Ricky Simone. But Adrian Yanez is somebody that I know nothing about. Maybe I've seen him once or twice. I think Ricky Simone is just going to be again. And if you're saying he's somebody who's also kind of has a high highs and lows kind of deal, I mean, if Ricky Simone gets on the upper hand, I think he's going to go ahead and finish my boy Yanez here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it'll be a finish necessarily. Ricky Simone went to decision with Cameron Smotherman. Is that
Yeah,
correct? So, yeah, I mean, that's the kind of fight right there that is like what gives me the pause. You know what I mean? Like it's like, and I'm not even really necessarily even saying that Cameron Smotherman's not a great fighter. He's an okay fighter, but that's what I'm getting at. You know what I mean? It's like we're talking about an echelon of bantamweight that's like you got to show me more. And I think that both of these guys are in that exact same position. So I will agree. I think that Ricky Simone has the better highs to make me think that he could potentially pull the win off here. But again, Adrian Yanez on the other side could have the exact same fight, or make it his version of that fight where it becomes, grapple heavy if he decides to go that route. Uh, Simone was certainly having problems with that. I remember Cameron Smotherman was talking to him during that fight, saying, "You're the one that they're booing right now."
Mhm.
So I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily what this is going to be. I will tentatively also pick Ricky Simone to win this fight, but it is such a coin toss, in my opinion. This would be a fight that I would stay away from betting on in IRL.
No, that's good advice from Thinker. I love the gambling advice. Staying away from a bet or staying away from a fight is the best advice that you can give somebody, to be honest. Because sometimes there's just things that stick out to you that I wouldn't personally risk my money on.
Exactly. Sometimes the only way to win is to not play the game.
You gotta know when to fold them. That's part of the song too, guys. It's just not holding them; it's folding them too. So,
That's right. Shout out to Kenny Rogers always. So you going Ricky Simone as well then?
Ricky Simone.
All right, I guess we'll both pick Ricky Simone. Part of me really wants to pick Adrian Yanez to win this fight, just because I'm like, it very well could happen, but I'm going to lean on the thought process that we just laid out.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, Alexia Thayanara is fighting Bruna Brazil, of course, the lost fighting nerd over here, versus our surging prospect Alexia Thayanara. This would seem like a pretty easy one to predict, but Chase, throw me a curveball here. What are you thinking?
Well, so Alexia Thayanara, if you notice, she is 13-1. Her one loss is to Bruna Brazil by a guillotine back in 2019. So, does that change the way that you view this fight here?
It certainly is the curveball that I was looking for you to throw. However, no, it does not change my opinion whatsoever. Early loss is supposed to be taken early on in the career, and you're supposed to grow from it. And what we've seen from Thayanara since then has been pretty impressive work. So
I actually agree with you wholeheartedly. I think Thayanara is somebody that you should really look out for in the women's division. She's very competitive. She's fierce. She goes in there for a finish. I really respect that. Bruna Brazil, I would love to just give a round of applause to everybody in the war room for giving me one more opportunity to see this woman compete, because I've said this before, guys. I've come around to notice Bruna Brazil is one of the more attractive women in this organization, and I give her plenty of props here. Shout out to whoever got her on the second fight of the night. I'll be eating my Vindaloo and I'll be watching Bruna Brazil. I'm having a good day.
fair enough. I mean, it very well could be the last time you're watching Bruna Brazil, because she is 11-6. So one more loss is probably not going to fly. But yeah. So you're picking
I'm
Thayanara
taking
to win?
Thayanara. Yeah, she's
Yeah,
gonna come out here with a different game plan. She's gonna be able to. Bruna Brazil is just too passive the way that we've seen her. I don't think Thayanara must have made some rookie mistake that got her stuck in a guillotine. So
that's what I would suspect too, because yeah, that was going to be my other note, is that yeah, a guillotine from Bruna Brazil back then does not track nowadays. I mean, she's not out here trying to sub people very often. She honestly, it's kind of crazy that she is a fighting nerd, because she does not have the instincts that come with being a part of that camp. Even for the lesser fighting nerds, like they generally have pretty decent fight IQ in a broad sense. She just does not. And
mhm.
that, I think, is kind of where the thought process lies. Alexia Thayanara is on the come up. Brazil, this might be the last time you see her.
Unfortunately.
Yes, indeed. All right. Well, moving on to the first fight of the evening here. This is Kangji, Zhu Kangji versus Marcio Barbosa. I believe Barbosa is coming off of the Contender Series, and Zhu Kangji, I do not recognize the name. Talk to me, Chase.
Well, there's one interesting thing. I'm going to double check real quick for Marcio. Yes, he is from the Contender Series. He got a first round knockout in 4 minutes and 14 seconds. The thing that is interesting to me about Zhu Kangji, and this has nothing to do with the fight, but his first official opponent listed on ESPN for his pro record, there's no name, there's no way of victory. All that we know is he lost. There's no time, there's no round. He lost in Chin Wu Men 2016-2017 Season A Team Rises Together. He lost. I know that for a fact. He was his first pro bout and he lost. But I don't know to who, I don't know when, but he has 12 knockouts. He's never been knocked out. He's only been submitted once. So
Is the loss in the room with us now, you know?
I know, right? It's pretty crazy that this is something that ESPN would have on their page. Maybe Topology feels a certain way about that one. I don't know. But as of right now, you have two dudes that we know nothing about. One has 21 wins. This goes back to what I was saying. When you go to the Contender Series, on the opposite end of the coin from our guy from China here, you have the stereotypical Contender Series guy who's South American with plenty of bouts. You know, he's going to come in here. It's not like he's 7-1 or something like that. Like, I'm looking at the names here. I'm not seeing anything too crazy. Oh, Caio Machado, that's a dude that was in the UFC. He beat
True.
him.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's about it. Felipe Oliveira, is that the dude that just fucking fought? No, never
No,
mind.
I don't think so.
No, okay, so yeah, I mean, just coin flip. Honestly, I would say pick your favorite thinker because I have no idea who's going to win this one.
Well, what I will say, you talk about the records here. What I have come to recognize, and I think we've talked about this before on the show, China just racks up the fights. Like, these Chinese fighters come in with these crazy records. It seems like they're fighting all the time over there. That gives me pause to put my backing on Chinese fighters, because what I see out of that, or what at least the thought process is that they are fighting primarily in their home region, and that does not lend themselves to a diverse pool of competition. I think that they are homogenized to a certain degree, where they are fighting very similar opponents with very similar skill sets and very similar skill levels. And because of that, Marcio coming in with 17 wins on his record, I would suspect, at least, and I cannot confirm this necessarily, but I would suspect that the competition pool is a little bit more diverse, a little bit more things to think about with who he's dealing with. The types of fighters might be a little bit wider sweeping there. And the other point that I will make is that because it is a coin flip, and because we've got one guy coming in off the Contender Series and one guy who's coming in fresh to the organization, this is essentially a Contender Series fight in and of itself. So
Yes.
that being said, it still is a coin flip. You can take what I just said and extrapolate it however you'd like to. My thought process when it comes to a fight like this, based on those circumstances, is go with the Brazilian.
Oh,
That's what I'm thinking. So now, granted, you said he's never been knocked out. Is that
yes,
correct?
no, yeah. He's got 12 knockouts, never been finished. I'm sorry, no, that was the China. No,
Yeah, the
this the
Chinese, right?
the Chinese guy's 12 finishes, never been finished. The Brazilian guy's 14 knockouts, two times he's been knocked out. So
So I mean, a little bit more kill or be killed, perhaps. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the guy that I'm going with the dude who came at least that I've seen knock somebody out, and
you've
with my
seen,
own eyes.
you're taking Brazil.
I am taking Brazil.
I will take China here. I like it.
All right, well then there you have it. I mean, a couple of we ended up differing on a few of them, so not many, but a couple there. So like we say, like the one that you thought had the better picks here, and of course you can hang out with either of us individually on our individual watch-alongs this Saturday for this event. You can find me at youtube.com/@Yama Show, and Chase, I know you can tell them where they can find you.
Obviously, Saturdays we will be watching UFC, and on Fridays we will be watching One in the mornings. And of course, make sure to keep up because we will be starting the Tops collection on youtube.com/@CP Smalls, of course.
Absolutely. Definitely be tuning in for that. Be tuning in for Chase's Street Word show as well when he does that program. A lot of good stuff going on Chase's channel. You can find me on Instagram and on Twitter and on Facebook at Yama Show. And of course, you can go to yamashow.com, YAMMA show.com, for all of your Yama and last week's fights merchandise needs. Go over there, cop yourself something. Indeed, a lot of good stuff for you to have over there. And of course, guys, you got to make sure that you are tuning in tomorrow at 9:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, when myself and the great Chase Parton are going to be reviewing the classic film Bloodsport for your viewing pleasure. Make sure you hang out with us for that. We aren't able to interact with the chat as much, but trust we have a great time doing these MMA on film reviews. So until then, guys, we will see you tomorrow, but you guys have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week, and as always, fight on.